lights come on a Sunday morning in this great city. Third largest city in the United States, Houston, Texas wakes up to the final day of the latest sports championship to come to this great sports town. It's our championship, the World Championship of Bass Fishing, the Geico Bassmaster Classic presented by Dick's Sporting Goods. It's a championship in which nothing else compares in the world of fishing, and the final round is starting now.
The 2017 Bassmaster Classic presented by Dick's Sporting Goods is being brought to you live by Toyota.
Number one prize, the sport of fishing on the line. There is the man with the upper hand. As we head into the final day, Brent Ehrler, one of the very few who has been able to catch them 2 days in a row, being able to somehow control his situation and keep things going. But that is a rare and wonderful thing in this classic. Brent Ehrler, a 2-pound-plus lead. That is not much on a lake like Lake Conroe, and Lake Conroe is our playing field, and so far it has been an opponent, basically. We think of these guys battling each other. This is the last round of a heavyweight fight between anglers and a lake that is trying to knock them out, it seems like, at every turn of events. But Brent Ehrler with the start of the day with the lead. Who's going to take over that lead as we head into the first, the second, the third hour? Guys, it's anyone's guess. I'm through making predictions. It's great we have a classic. We're going to find out all the answers today.
It's been incredible, Tommy. Everyone has been all over the board. There are like 3 guys in this event that really looked confident yesterday when we talked to them, and only 3. When we got down to like the 4th place guy, they're saying, I don't know if I can even catch one tomorrow.
Exactly right. I think the main word that if you really dive in with the guys that we're covering, the guys that are sitting on this desk, the word has been inconsistent in this tournament, and you're looking at an angler leading this event that has basically won everything in the sport of bass fishing outside of the Bassmaster Elite Series. He's been there, he's done it, and coming into this tournament, I don't know that Brent Ehrler thought that he could catch a limit. And the other side of the whole story of this, the whole story of this Bassmaster Classic, and you hear this all the time, Davey, you have won this event. Put yourself in position on this morning, this day, and some of the biggest names in the sport, guys that have won that trophy, they're in that position.
They're loaded. They're ready for you. They're coming after you. There's no way Brent Ehrler can feel comfortable simply on the basis of what has happened to everyone else in this tournament. No one can feel comfortable on this day. I don't see how anyone has any confidence whatsoever, and we'll talk about that being such an essential component.
The odds-on favorite coming into this tournament was Keith Combs, and when all the rest of the field saw what happened to him here, every one of them knows that it could happen to them here this week.
There's no doubt about it. I mean, the one thing that we heard coming into this was, if you look at that leaderboard right there, number one, you have some of the best veterans in bass fishing. I mean, true grinders that have done this for decades. You've got new guys. Look at James Elam, who's one of the best young fishermen on the Bassmaster Elite Series. Bradley Roy, really, at about noon yesterday, we counted him out. We were worried that he may not even make it to today, and somehow he's still in the event.
Absolutely. So many snipers out there waiting for their shot on this final day of the Bassmaster Classic. You can see the cloud cover there. We've had a sunny day one time. Day number 2 is going to be a little different today. We're coming back to you to our host city of Houston, Texas. What a great place this has been. Everything's on a huge scale here. It's kind of hackneyed to say, everything's big in Texas, but boy, it sure is big in Houston. That is for sure. There is the Bassmaster Classic Expo, presented by Dick's Sporting Goods. Just a fantastic place. This place will light up in a few more hours here in this morning. We're in here early. They let us in to do our show here, Bassmaster Live, and we got 6 hours worth of it coming for you today. Our dream team here in the 2 seats here. We can't ask for more than that. Mark Zona, Davey Hyde, you guys have taken us through this in fine style. This has not been an easy one to figure out and an impossible one to predict on.
It's not been an easy one. The one thing that I keep remembering is Kevin Van Dam, when we did the pre-tournament interviews, said this is going to be the toughest classic for somebody to win that I have ever fished. And it has become so true, other than just a couple guys. Edwin Evers has been able to catch fish consistently and leave his fish. Dave Lefebvre. even Brent Ayler, the winner, has had a tough time. He's had to fish hard all day long to catch fish. It's been tough.
And really, Van Dam made a comment after the first day of competition. He said, he looked at Dave and he looked at me after his interview, and he said, y'all have no idea how much fun you're going to have this weekend in this tournament. I said, what do you mean? And he said, you'll see. You'll see what's coming. With all of our cameras that are going to be out on the water today, I don't know that I've ever been able to say this to you, Davey, to you, Tommy, is of all of those cameras, I believe we are going to have 5 or 6 anglers doing completely different things, different techniques in different areas of the lake. And I don't know that I've ever said that in an Elite Series tournament. There's always some dominant pattern. There's always some dominant pattern where if you've got 5 or 6 cameras out, 2 or 3 guys are doing the same thing. That is not the case in this Classic.
Yeah, and that's kind of a treat for us. That's the kind of stuff we love. We look forward to events like that. It's a treat. Another treat we got in-house, of course, our 2 intrepid reporters from Bassmaster.com. Mike Sukon and Ron Moore. Ronnie Moore in the house. Guys, what is up with you? What are you following to get this day started?
Championship Sunday. Well, the cloud's going to go away in a little while, get up in the 80s today, and the winds are only going to climb to about 12 to 15 by the afternoon.
All right, so a little bit nicer, Ronnie.
We're going to watch and see today some 16-inch fish are going to make this Classic. We talked about how many big fish are going to be important this week. A 16-incher is probably going to decide this Classic. We saw
just as important as a big one.
17 limits yesterday. About 60% less than day one.
Wow.
What's the wind supposed to do the first few hours of the morning?
It's starting pretty low. It's like at 8 a.m. it's calm. It's like 2 miles an hour from the southeast, but it's 2 more miles the next couple hours, and by noon it's 8.
Because last year, the wind made Edwin Evers
was the Classic
champion. That, no doubt about it. This year, the wind is going to be just as important, but the lack of wind is what these guys are praying for, unlike last year. Totally different. We're going to get into that.
Yeah, and I really think the one thing, if you look at Edwin Evers right there, it's been a different Edwin Evers this tournament compared to other tournaments past that we covered him. I always say this, Edwin has a tendency to get very ratcheted up, elusive. Don't get me wrong, he is still slippery. You don't mind me saying. But to me, the story of Edwin Evers is if you watched Bass Track Day 1 and Day 2, he has knocked their lights out in the first hour, and for some reason we have not been able.
He has evaded our cameras.
But we're going to see him this morning.
It's going to be
really cool
in some way, shape, or form.
You say?
Well, I think he's got a magical power that he's able
That's
to
what
shut
I'm talking
us.
about. He's slippery is not the word. He's the vapor.
And he's capitalized on it. He's really capitalized on that 1 hour window shad spawn that other anglers really tried to duplicate. And I don't know what he knows. I don't know what he's doing different. And it's what you said, Davey Height. When we were doing our post-day interview with him yesterday, he said, "Oh, guys, it's all wind dependent, but not really." Why are you asking me so many questions, guys?
But we're going to find out.
We're going to find out this morning.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that.
Big crowd on hand out there at Lake Conroe, just a few minutes away from the starting time when Dave Mercer's going to send the boats out. Saw Dave Mercer behind the stage yesterday at the weigh-in before it got going. I said, Dave, what is going on at this tournament? He said, I've been telling you guys. He's done dozens of events down here. He says, Lake Conroe, all the other lakes everybody talks about here today, gone tomorrow. This is the prototype lake for that. This is where it really is true.
I'd heard that. This is my first trip here, but it is so true. The cool thing about it, we talk about tough fishing and the way it's thrown everyone a curveball. There's big fish in this lake, and one guy that might zero one day can catch 25 pounds, and it might happen today. None of these guys that are in contention to win have zeroed, but anyone from 7th place up could win this thing. I truly believe that.
Yeah, one of those giants, one of those fish that, Brent Ayler weighed in. Those are the equalizers of this final day. But the other, man, if you're a technique junkie, if you're a tackle junkie, this is the day for you. We're going to be able to throw it out there, what these guys are using. And that is what, to me, is the most special thing right now for this event, is how these guys have made very subtle adjustments with not just a hodgepodge of lures, 1 or 2 or maybe 3 lures throughout a day, but very, very, very subtle changes. And the other side of this tournament was everybody said the offshore deal was going to end up winning it in some way, shape, or form. And guys like Clifford Perch, Iconelli, who was depending on it, Keith Combs. Something happened on this lake yesterday morning. And we talked to those anglers that had the consistency out deep on day number 1 and really dropped off yesterday. That storm that passed through here between 4 and 6 a.m. yesterday, every one of those deep anglers said, I don't know. I guess that storm trashed me.
Yeah, it's been interesting. You know, I'm a rookie on this side of the desk, but when I fished for 23 years, I would hopefully learn more about the body of water each and every day. I'm learning more sitting here, and these fishermen are too. We're going to
explain that.
Well, you understand what affects some lakes differently than others. Last year, I said if the wind blows, you better look out for Edwin Evers. Got lucky and called it right. Normally, the wind really helps you throwing a spinnerbait. Those kind of bait helps Kevin Van Dam. Helps exactly what Edwin's doing. You would think the wind would help you, but I think it's just the opposite here. And we're going to learn so much more about that. And like you said, the baits, it's what people love to see. It's the little details, the fine-tuning that these guys do to each and every lake.
Okay, last year you said if we get that win, it's going to help Edwin Evers. Give us one here on the final day for Conroe.
If the wind doesn't blow very much today, I think Brent Ayler can definitely win this tournament. If it starts blowing before 11 o'clock, above 12, 15 miles an hour,
it'll hurt him.
It's going to hurt him bad.
Because
he's been able to claw back. Edwin has popped out there and catches some of the shad spawn, but Brent really needs it to stay calm. He talked to us about this.
Yep.
He needs it to stay calm, and I think if it stays calm, no matter what flurry, and I really think Edwin's going to do it again this morning, he's going to pop him 15 to 20 pounds really quick, and I'm looking forward to watching it because I think you and I and Tommy, we're going to learn more about it when we see it. But if the wind doesn't pick up and blow hard, I think Brent Ayler can recover from that, claw his way back along with some other folks. If it starts blowing really hard, I don't think it can.
The other fisherman in this tournament that has quietly done work, and that's Dave Lefebvre. And here's the beautiful thing about Dave Lefebvre. He is one of the best jig fishermen on planet Earth. Hands down, bar none. And he's been one of the best jig fishermen, not for the last year or two, but for the last decade, okay? That is all he is doing here. And really what he's keying on, what we're going to be able to break down, he has found something out about this lake that every other competitor around him has totally missed.
Well, gosh, that's the whole thing, the whole appeal of this final day. Of course, it's terrific as we laid out before. Everybody's kind of got the opportunity to do something that is their strength, but that hasn't been enough here. Every guy, to separate himself from the field, like you say, has got to find some subtle thing that allows him to go behind other guys doing that same thing and catch fish.
It's going to amaze guys that were in this Bassmaster Classic that are great fishermen. It's going to amaze them what Dave Lefebvre is doing.
No doubt.
Because they think he's fishing docks, and no one in this event has done very well fishing docks.
He's not fishing docks.
He's not fishing docks.
And the beautiful, the word you used, subtle. You look at Edwin Evers, you look at Dave Lefebvre, and you look at Brent Ayler, the guys that are at the top right now. That's the word that every one of them used in their interview. Just little subtle differences that other anglers have missed throughout this entire week.
We should be able to track that all day long for the true bass addict. Boy, this is going to be a smorgasbord today of extra final turns that can put you over the top. Who's going to make that right final turn to sort of get out of the corn maze and get to the prize?
Another underlining story that we had yesterday was the area that Brent Ayler was fishing. Mike Iconelli, who was fishing offshore really the entire day one of this tournament, salvaged his day yesterday at about 11 or 12 o'clock, ran up the lake and runs in the pocket that Brent Ayler was fishing and leading in. And here's the thing, Iconelli said all tournament long, I've got a deal up north. I got a deal up north. Lo and behold, it's the same exact pocket. So Iconelli weighs in yesterday. We're talking to him after the weigh-in. He said, oh, I'm not going up north again. I can't catch up. I'm going to fish offshore again on day 3. I'm going to try to blow this thing out because to catch those 8 to 10 pounders, he said, my best bet is fishing offshore down near the dam.
That's the thing that shouldn't amaze me, but it did sitting there listening to Mike. Guys ask me all the time, what makes this fisherman the winner. How has he won a classic? How has he won Angle of the Year? What makes him different than that guy? Because we all know there's great fishermen throughout this country. Him knowing this is what I've got to do to give myself a chance. He already had calculated in mind. If I was only 3 pounds back, I might do this. He already had all that decided, and he had a plan, and he's going to stick with it. And that's what makes him great. Gives him the opportunity. He wants to win this thing, nothing else.
Now the key is, how long can he mentally stick with that plan, fishing offshore near the dam? And then, I mean, do you get 2 hours in, 3 hours in, and say, I'm going back up there where I caught him yesterday. Oh, by the way, there's been a bunch of fish caught out of there the last 2 days.
Take a look at Bradley Roy right there, fishing in his first Classic, was the youngest guy ever to fish in the Bassmaster Elite Series. First Classic, and he finds himself in this company near the top of the league. You think he's nervous a little bit today? Is there some nerves or jitters
I
or
certainly
anything?
would be. My first Classic, I was so nervous I couldn't even breathe.
We are just
Looking at Bradley Roy right there, one of the anglers that have really tried to live offshore this whole tournament, knowing what lives out there. He had a huge pre-practice here, had a great weekend last weekend. And yesterday, Ron, I'm going to throw it to you real quick. Up till about 10 or 11 o'clock, we were worried that he would not even make it to fish today.
He had 2 or 3 fish, and they were just the small quality or the small size on Conroe, and he was really grinding it out. But he told me yesterday backstage, he said, "It's the Bassmaster Classic. I'm not going to punt. I'm going to stick with the game plan," and it ended up working out well. And he caught his final keeper at 2:30 to make it to today and be in contention.
We talk about making changes, and Dave Lefebvre said something to us yesterday that I still haven't fully figured out. Maybe you guys can explain it to me. He says, make changes. How can you change when you're getting 5 bites a day? And I didn't quite understand what he was getting at. Davey, I'm sure you know what he's talking about there.
Well, I think he meant that if I go try something, if I make a change, then I'm only going to get 3 or 4 bites because I wasted that critical hour or 2 that I need.
What so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight, o'er the ramparts we watched, were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave.
Nailed it.
John Stewart, right?
Nailed it.
John Stewart
Nailed
of
it.
the Bassmaster
Chill
staff.
bumps.
Laying it down there. These guys, boy, dry mouth, dry throat for these guys standing on the bank, getting ready to go, and they will be underway just moments from now. Dave Mercer's going to line them up, send them out today. Fewer boats on the water today. I don't think that's going to make a huge difference, is it? I mean, these guys are fighting the lake. They're not fighting each other so much.
They are. The only person I think the fewer boats might help is Brent Ayler. Because there's been quite a few, and we talked about it. They haven't caught them very well. Some of the best shallow water fishermen, the best shallow water fishermen in the country that he's had around him. A few of them aren't going to be there today because they didn't make the cut. He's the only one that really, because Edwin really hasn't had anybody around him in the mornings, including us. And Dave Lefebvre is just, he's had a lot of people around him, but he's doing something so different than everybody else around.
We are the most biased, unbiased crew in the history of professional sports.
Huh?
We are. And here's what I'm going to throw to you, Tommy Sanders. We did this after the weigh-in yesterday. May I have your pick?
Thank you.
My pick?
Yes.
I told you yesterday I'm going to stick with Brent Ayler. It's a small, tiny advantage he's got today. But like you say, maybe a fewer less boats. A
Why
guy
do you-
who's been
why do
able
you-
to
why do you
control
go
his
there?
destiny for 2 days. That's rare.
Davey.
I'm totally unbiased on this because I like to win, and even if we say who's your pick, I want to beat you 2 guys. And my first 2 picks I've changed every day, but I'm gonna say Dave Lefevre.
All right. We got Robbie Floyd there as always. He'll be a live asset for us all day long.
You won the Toyota Texas Bass Classic. You won a Forest Wood Cup, but you've never led the final day of the most prestigious bass fishing event in the world, the Bassmaster Classic. How are you dealing with it?
You know, it's nerve-wracking. I'm definitely nervous, but having a great time. You know, I have a great opportunity. This is my ultimate dream in bass fishing, is to win the Bassmaster Classic. It's always been that carrot out there, that one thing that always, gets me going in the morning when I'm, groggy and having a hard time and it's raining. I don't want to wake up. The Bassmaster Classic is what gets me here.
The pressure of your area, there's been several top guys in that spot. Can it hold off? I know you laid off of your best spot a little bit yesterday.
I laid off a little bit. I grind, but the potential is there. I know the potential's there. I know I can win the tournament there. It's just a matter of making the right decisions, being in the right place at the right time, because they definitely bite in flurries. If I can be there when it happens, I'll win the tournament.
This is a guy, ladies and gentlemen, I was there at day one. I remember you back in 04, 05, and when you pick those anglers that you know that will make it, this is one of those guys for me.
All right, Robbie Floyd with our leader, Brent Ayler, right there, 40 years old, California, West Coast guy who can fish absolutely anywhere. And like you said yesterday,
so
here's
I'm going to try a few more baits on them today. I've really kind of pulled off the shad spawn pretty early today because I had big sight fish to go to. But, today we're going to hit them shad spawn fish really hard and then probably go sight fishing. So really looking forward to it. I got a couple areas I hadn't even been to yet that I had quite a few fish in practice. So Bassmaster Classic, we're going to leave it all on the line today, and we're going to do everything we can to take this thing home to Oklahoma. I can't wait.
Guy who's gunning for 2 in a row. What a rare and terrific thing. What a great achievement that would be. 2 Geico Bassmaster Classics in a row. Edwin Evers certainly got that within his.
I think he's going to be a handful.
He's going to be a handful.
I really think he's going to be a handful.
That's your pick, right?
When we really came into this tournament, listening and looking at Edwin at Media Day, I'd never seen an Edwin like that.
No, this is what we like and the fans like. Us to not, you put me and Tommy on the line for a pick, but I really and truly mean this from the bottom of my heart. 7 through 1
I
could
agree.
be number 1 at the end of the day.
Now from a I don't know, a dorky sentimental standpoint, I want to see a guy that has not won the Classic win the Classic. I like that.
Like this guy?
Like this guy right here.
Well, a little bit. Brent Ayler with a huge day yesterday, and it kind of started right out of the gate. And all day long yesterday, we were trying to get a visual on exactly what he was doing. How was he out fishing the competitors around him?
I looked all day yesterday. And we had a lot of his fish catches. Here are some of them here. And if you pay attention, you can almost see it, but you can't quite. And he's a super nice guy, super honest guy. And when we talked to him yesterday, he said, yeah, I tried to not let you guys see it. Not just us personally, but he didn't want anyone to see, because he had, we've talked about it several times already this morning, some awesome fishermen. Greg Hagney, Todd Faircloth, and I could just go on and on around him. And I was watching, best shallow water fisherman in the world. And he knew, see there, you can almost see the bait right there, but he told us last night, it's a Yamamoto D-Shad, weightless in this thick, heavy cover. What he caught. Every fish he weighed in on yesterday.
Now, Davey, a couple fish throughout the week. He's done typical creature bait kind of deal, but the majority of the bulk, when it calms down, has come on a weightless bait.
We talked about light sinkers and what it meant. He went the lightest. No sinker.
Well, that's where he's headed today, no doubt. Brent Ayler, he says he's got a couple maybe other places, but boy, that's been the juice for him as we take a look at our Humminbird Lay of the Lake.
Exactly right, Tommy Sanders. And we said this was a lake of two faces coming into it. Do you do what Brent Ayler is doing right there, or do you do something like the shad spawn thing in the morning? It's been such a hodgepodge deal with techniques. You look at Edwin Evers right there living on those seawalls, and then later in the day we've seen Edwin Evers and guys like Bradley Roy getting offshore. Again, if you're just joining us, there's really been no dominant pattern.
It hasn't. The thing that has amazed me or disappointed, I don't know even how to describe it, because my 2 picks just plummeted because of this. But the storms that we had during the nights before day 1 and day 2 have really hurt the offshore fish, especially yesterday.
And there's the face of the dam right there with Kevin Van Dam, and you see Mike Iaconelli fishing offshore. Will that dam area where every competitor has fished there is convinced the biggest school of giant bass in this lake, they say, lives near that dam right there. But ironically, if you look at your leaders coming into this day, well, what got them to survive has been mid-lake, west side of mid-lake,
wow, yes,
heading north.
Unbelievable.
The thing that amazes me looking at Hummingbird Lay of the Lake is every fisherman, when they laid this out, is on the west side of the lake. The wind is really dictating where these fishermen are, and almost every time, 99% of the time in March, you want to be downwind on the side where the wind is blowing, and it's just opposite here at Lake Conroe.
Taking a look at James Elam, not catching a lot of fish, but quality has been there. The strange comment he actually made after the weigh-in yesterday. He said, guys, I don't know if I can catch a keeper on day 3, or I can catch 20 to 25 pounds from there. There's the cluster of boats, Steve Kennedy, Brent Ayler, Mike Iaconelli, fishing near each other, and there's a lot of other anglers there, and as far up lake as you can get, you see Cliff Crochet, who, if you speak to Keith Combs coming into this tournament, he said there's no way those guys on the upper end can survive. They cannot survive the numbers that live up there.
Let's go and see if we can do what has been impossible for us to do the first 2 days of this tournament, get on Edwin Evers early.
Man, I'm excited. I'm ready to get one in the boat. Thank you. Hey, man, how are you?
Guys, we see the clouds in the back right there in the low light. You think that'll...
Here's 2 guys that have fished shad spawn for 20 years plus each, the best in the business. For people watching the Bassmaster Classic, watching 2 of the best ever, doing something that a lot of folks still at local levels don't really have figured out, the shad spawn. And here's the golden opportunity to watch 2 of the best there's ever been.
Well, we're trying to change things up a little bit this morning, cover some more water. The shad are spawning like crazy. I want to burn through some water early, and you can see, look around, there's birds everywhere, both sides of us here. Try to pick up the pace and catch some bigger ones. 7 pounds back. I've got to get those bigger bites today. This is how I was doing it in practice. I catch some on a spinner bait and some on this bait right here is a king shad, and it's just a bigger profile looking. You can take a good look at that right there. That's one of my favorites this time of the year when the fish are shallow like that. I've caught some good ones on it. It only runs a couple of feet, but something I can fish fast, almost just like a spinner bait. You see a lot of shad here. They're not right up on the bank. A lot of them are off. I was catching a lot of my fish. Really everything I've weighed in, I've caught on a jerkbait to this point. But I know I need to mix things up a little bit. I've caught a few big ones doing it. It's going right here. Golly, guys.
Everyone's been catching them so good in the mornings. That first stop is disappointing for him.
Well, not only that, I want you to, he's trying to control the crowd right now, too. Edwin doesn't want a lot of wind. He doesn't want a lot of waves smashing against these seawalls. And that's one of the things he's going to have to deal with the first 2 hours. As Ron Moore said, will the clouds help this, hurt this? Anytime you have a shad spawn, the lower light condition you have, Davey, you know this, the longer that bite will last.
People don't follow somebody and watch them fish, isn't it?
Yeah, you're exactly right.
I'm glad they're
Edwin said yesterday that first stop he caught one, took off, just that stop right there. Didn't catch one there today, took off and caught two more on the second stop.
I want you to look at that picture right there. Could you imagine being a bass fisherman living on Lake Conroe and either seeing Edwin Evers and Kevin Van Dam or both of them? It'd almost be like coming out of your house and seeing Aaron Rodgers against Tom Brady on a Sunday morning.
Truly what it is, one-on-one.
Playing catch in the backyard.
You mentioned about the boats, and Edwin just said it's amazing how many people want to be out. I do want to say this. Kevin said yesterday in the interview, been the most courteous spectators he has ever seen. Not even a rod out on the deck. But because of these seawalls, when the crowds move with him, when they stop, it just creates an ocean.
Right there he needs them to stop short. And everybody wants to get a position and they go, and then it's just an oscillation with the waves.
Edwin got bit right there. He either got bit or had a follower. And if you look at those waves right there, boat wakes around Edwin, that does not help this bite. That is one thing Edwin said, I cannot have that. Exactly what you're looking at.
If there's one thing that I've learned on this lake that's so critical, is the wind and the boat wakes. Not because it makes it a rough ride across the lake, but especially because the shad spawn is going on. Those shad want to be up against something hard, up against these seawalls, and either the wind or just the boat wakes stirs that up, and those shad can't really get up against there and really get concentrated like they need to for those fish to really want to come up there and school them.
Want it much calmer.
Yep. And every other place that you can think of, just about. Only a small handful in the whole country would you look for the calmest water in March.
Talked about those clouds, which we had on day number 1, appear to be back for day number 2 as we take a look at our TH Marine Weather forecast here, high of 84. That'd be the warmest day we've had so far. Low of 68. The wind, 15 miles an hour is what is expected to top out.
And out of a different direction.
And out of a different direction, southeast.
Keep in mind, every minute that these guys, and either one, these are proven winners. I mean, they know, Britt Ayler knows who he's got behind him. Every minute they go without catching one in shad spawn
helping him.
is helping him
Edwin
tenfold.
Evers.
I mean, incredibly.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
Another thing I want you to look at with Evers and Van Dam concentrating on the shad spawn.
Edwin.
Both Van Dam and Evers very close to the main lake. It's going to be a good one this morning.
Heavyweight final round, man. This is it right here, the final day of the Geico Bassmaster Classic. 8 hours of fishing, putting in a full day at the office, the most important day of the year at the office for these guys. And we'll head back to the great city of Houston, Texas. A lot of folks here at the Bassmaster Classic Expo presented by Dick's Sporting Goods. And then they'll walk on over to Minute Maid Park for the big-time weigh-in. We'll crown a champion today, the world champion, later on. Stay with us.
The 2017 Geico Bassmaster Classic presented by Dick's Sporting Goods is brought to you by Berkeley, Hook, Humminbird, Mercury, Minn Kota, and by Nitro Boats.
The ultimate predator has evolved again. Now, Yamaha B.A.S.S SHO Performance is prowling the waters in 4 hungry, exciting new models. With their 4 valves per cylinder and double overhead cam fuel-injected design, these advanced 4-stroke predators are taking performance to a whole new level. Vicious, lean, efficient. V-Max SHO. The pack is growing.
This Tundra for me is more than just a vehicle. The way that we travel in professional bass fishing, it's our home. As a competitor, man, I want to win. That desire to win, to be the best, that's never weakened. It's been the same from when I was 13, 14 years old to now. It hasn't gone away.
Toyota, let's go places.
Let us make this absolutely clear. The days of wasted casts and missed opportunities are over. New Mega Imaging takes fishing into the megahertz range for the first time, because higher frequency sonar means higher frequency of this. Without a doubt, it's the most detailed picture of the world below ever. And it's only from Humminbird.
That's awesome.
That's so cool. It's a game changer.
This thing steers just as easy in the thick stuff as it does out there in the open water.
It's much quieter. It's more responsive. Hit one button, and you're locked down. It's holding us right in place. It's anchoring us right here.
That new spot lock is dead on.
You know, the only fighting you have to worry about is fighting the fish now.
That's amazing. Absolutely amazing.
The 2017 Bassmaster Classic presented by Dick's Sporting Goods is being brought to you live by Toyota.
Final day of the Classic set up by this, the weigh-in on day number 2. And there again was the star of the weigh-in. Day number 1, giant fish for Brent Ayler and a great bag again. 23.3 on the first day, 20 pounds and 1 ounce on day number 2. A total of 43 pounds and 4 ounces. And Brent Ayler, like all the rest of these guys, dreaming of a Classic victory. Top achievement in the sport. That trophy right here. We actually saw it, had spotted it in the crowd earlier this morning at takeoff there. These guys got to look at it. They know what they're after today. That is all on their minds. Brent Ayler with a 2-pound lead over Dave Lefebvre. The fellows we watched earlier, Edwin Evers, 4 pounds back. We saw Kevin Van Dam working hard there as well. He's 7 pounds back, but as you guys say, definitely a shot.
Because when I look at the weights, because there's such a big gap, considering all the others between 7th and 8th, not because who's there, but I think anyone from 7th up could win this thing.
Let's take it. Our live coverage today, we call them our Rapala 5 Live. The anglers we've got live cameras on. Run them down right now for you. Bradley Roy fishing in his very first Bassmaster Classic. The young man from Lancaster, Kentucky. You still think of him as a kid, putting all the pressure on him today. Man, he finds himself in some fast company.
Exactly right. Another young angler, very solid and consistent the last few years on the Bassmaster Elite Series. James Elam. And here's the weird thing after the day 2 weigh-in. If you look at the consistency of his catches, he said, guys, I don't know if I can catch a keeper on day 3.
And Edwin Evers, the reigning Bassmaster Classic world champion, has a great chance to do it again today. And he showed last year he knows how to make a move on the final day.
Trying to win back-to-back Edwin Evers. What an achievement that would be. Something he's dreaming of, that's for sure. Dave Lefebvre fishing in his second Classic here. And boy, a little bit different from the rest of these guys, doing one thing in one place.
And the thing that got me yesterday that he mentioned, he's basically stopped fishing after only a couple hours each day.
Exactly right. He's been basically done at about 10 to 10:30. Keith Combs made a comment coming into this tournament. The guy that wins it will not know he was on him. One of those anglers that had no idea who he was on is leading this tournament right now from California, Brent Ayler.
Brent Ayler with the 2-pound, a little bit more lead coming into this thing. Not much of an advantage, as we say, but boy, it's great to have anything you can get, you'll take on this day.
Would you look at that quad box
that is
on
amazing,
the final day,
wow.
The Bassmaster Classic?
If you've ever fished a bass tournament, a club tournament, a Bassmaster Classic, any level in between, and you've got a chance to be watching this morning and you're not,
oh my gosh.
We mentioned during the break, Zona, if Brent Ayler can get up north into his fishing area before a couple of these shad spawn, especially Edwin Evers, catches his first fish, he's overcome one hurdle already this morning.
You nailed it. Every minute that goes by that these guys that are concentrating on that shad spawn, and Lefebvre is not. We'll get into his deal in a little bit. All of these guys concentrating on that bite. Every minute that goes by that they do not catch one is going to help Ayler.
More of a shad spawn this morning than there has been in here.
Question for live. Day, final day, Bassmaster Classic, first few casts, you're in the lead. Walk us through your emotions.
I'm nervous for sure, but I like the feel of the water right now. I like the way things are looking. It's nice and calm. Things are looking right. You know, the potential is there. It really is.
What's the game plan for the first part of the morning?
Besides catching fish, the game plan for today is to be real thorough. I'm not going to be in a hurry. I fish real thorough. I'm just winding the swim bait around right now a little bit. I saw a couple push. They're on a shad spawn just a little bit. Maybe get a random bite until I get kind of up until hit it. Get a random bite until I get into my better stuff here. One hit it right there.
Missed it. Huh.
Yeah, one fouled it right there. Big bull. Gar.
People watching Bassmaster Live, pay close attention how tight Edwin is to this cover. That's where those shad are. They're up against these hard objects, whether it is the boat dock pile or the wall. So many people make mistakes during a shad spawn and keep their boat 20, 30, 40 yards off. Pay close attention how tight he is to everything. He's making some little pitches that aren't 6 feet.
Like he's flipping a jig.
Yes.
Right.
Even close for flipping a jig.
Edwin's been throwing a 1/2 ounce and a 3/4 ounce War Eagle spinnerbait. We'll show you a picture of that spinnerbait in a little bit. That's been the primary weapon. 8 out of 10 bass that he's put on the scale throughout 2 days of competition have come on that spinnerbait.
This is officially the latest that we haven't had a fish catch yet by anybody in the field.
That's good info, Ryan.
It was 15 minutes on day one was the longest. Yesterday was about 5 minutes for Evers.
The people that is hurting most are the guys that have been relying on the shad spawn some. Lefebvre, Brent Ayler.
Not worried about it.
I'm telling you, even though they haven't caught one,
right,
they're gaining ground. I know that sounds silly, but they really are. Every minute that Edwin goes this morning without catching one on a shad spawn, these guys have a better chance to be able to claw back.
Well, you make that comment, Ronnie, that it took about 5 minutes to get some fish on the board yesterday. Edwin was culling by about the 15th minute yesterday.
Had his limit in 30 minutes.
30 minutes.
And no one else got a limit until Ayler did about an hour and a half into the day.
I mentioned when we started that I was really looking forward to actually being able to watch Edwin this morning.
This morning.
I figured it out, even though we haven't been able to watch him, that he wants calm water. But one thing I was curious about, if we don't have wind and he doesn't have that first calm spot that all the fish have been pushed to, will he be able to catch them?
To where everything's calm now compared to days 1 and days 2.
If you don't have moving water, you don't have slack water. It's all slack, right?
Right. That's a good point. Edwin said he was concentrating. If you're just joining us at home, he was concentrating on the slack water closest to the roughest water. Yeah. So if you can picture that in your mind, really what he was on the sides of these main lake points, the calmest water next to where that wind was bashing into.
Again, you're right. That is an impressive quad split, as they call it in TV, a 4-box.
Say it again?
Those guys, come on. I'm a TV nerd. Give me one shot, once in a while. Now the new guys, relatively. James Elam, the Oklahoma kid on the right, very well thought of, though, very, very skilled angler. And Bradley Roy, I mean, he's come out here as a youth, basically, and made his living. Hats off to him.
When we've been watching Kevin Van Dam and Edwin Evers, anybody you go to is going to pretty much be a new guy, a young guy.
That's right.
Those guys are done it all in the sport.
Just had Bradley Roy bringing a 3-pounder, first fish on the day.
Okay, that's something we were not able to get the camera picture in quite in time, but that's our first fish. We got somebody on the board, and it's Bradley Roy.
First time that we've seen Bradley Roy start this tournament fishing up shallow, and he said he might call an audible, fish up shallow for a little bit, but his main game has been offshore, so anything really in the first 2 hours for Bradley Roy that he's not fishing offshore is going to be for sure a bonus. James Elam throwing a 5-inch Yamamoto Senko really the entire tournament, and
he's been one of the most consistent anglers. He caught 4 one day and 5 the next. The only bites he's had. I know that sounded sarcastic, but really not. To be as young, him and Bradley Roy both, to be young fishermen, first or second classics, they really stuck with their guns and were really, really patient yesterday. Both of them.
And James Elam, one of the things that he's ignored was he said, I'm fishing outside of the cover, whether it's seawalls or docks or brush. He said, I'm fishing outside of it and trying to catch spawners. He goes, I can't see them, but if I miss one, I will re-catch that fish at times. He said, I'm blind sight fishing. I'm throwing where I know there's beds.
And that's why I said that as a compliment. To stick to your guns and to be fishing today and be in the top 5 or 6 today when you had some veterans that spun out this week.
Big time.
Yeah.
Bang, bang, bang. Bradley Roy with the 3 we talked about. Also, Steve Kennedy caught a 4. Jared Lintner with a 3. So, a couple quick fish catches, 20 minutes into the day.
If you also look at the slope of the bank right where Van Dam is, he said one of the keys on this lake with wind or spectator boats for him on this shad spawn, you see the slope of that seawall? He said that seawall will absorb a lot of the waves instead of crashing against it.
Move in and out on this stuff so much. I mean, when the bait.
Head back over to James Elam right now. Not fishing very far from the takeoff, a couple miles.
No report on whether he got a hold of some more of his soft plastic stick baits that he was using yesterday that he ran out of. About 2 hours left to fish. Oh, well, here we go.
Oh. That was a good one.
You always hate to see that, but when a guy's only been getting 5 bites a day,
Not much you can do about crazy ones like that other than trying to hook them better.
Zoom trick worm would look like. That's brutal.
It's brutal to lose a fish in the Bassmaster Classic. I've done it a whole bunch of times. But to only get 4 or 5 bites a day, like he said, it's been brutal for him to get a bite. And to get a bite that early, a big one, look at that.
That is a good one.
He would have been way ahead of his plan when we talked to him yesterday, had he landed that fish. I guarantee you right now he's thinking, man, I can't lose him. Not getting enough bites.
Looked like Ron Moore. I'm pulling out of the bag. Looked like a red bug trick worm.
Where have we seen that before?
Well, they're not.
Maybe not the brand, but the color and the style. Yes, sir.
I do not know if he was adding a nail to it. Looked like he was.
You still good?
Dude, that was a good one.
It was.
Something to overcome there early on. A new challenge for James Elam. Forget that one. And move on. Get the next bite going and don't lose it. Edwin Evers still looking for his first keeper.
Wow.
even though he's the reigning world champion, he's been able to catch his fish the first 2 days without, he's hooked up. Wow, baby.
Finally.
Swung it.
It's a good one to start the day on right there.
Edwin, I'm gonna have to fix your mic here in a second. It's got to rattle.
Took a long damn time.
Tell me when you're ready.
I'm gonna make some cash right here, so.
He caught that fish right on that corner is where the fish bit, but this is a good one. The pressure, even though, like I mentioned, the reigning world champ, he put on a little show there.
Hey, the other side is
back and then swing it.
I want you to watch what he did and what he said to his cameraman. They were having a little trouble with his mic right there. First thing he did when he hooked that fish, he dropped those power poles instantly, because a lot of the places where he's got bit on days 1 and days 2, he's backed it up with multiple bites. That right there, Ron Moore even nailed it. We got a tie ball game right now.
Yep.
Good one to start the day. Edwin Evers, that was a phenomenal landing.
It was.
There was a lot of things going on right there.
We could talk about a lot of different things, but
he pulled his cell phone out, put it in his slider drawer. I don't know what was happening right there.
I can tell you what was happening. He smells another victory.
What'd that fish weigh? 4.5?
Had at least.
Yeah.
Exactly what I was thinking. I don't know if I'd quite say 5, but definitely 4.5. Might be 5. We see that shot again. That fish was exactly where it was set up. That's why he was, I think one thing that kind of made him anxious there and he wanted to stop the boat, he was right on a little point of that wall and that dock, and exactly where it's set up. He talked yesterday about catching 3 or 4 in a row, making one exact cast. I bet it was a very similar deal like that. Probably came across his mind before he got the first one in a boat. I might be about to catch 3.
Right.
That fish put him in the lead, right, Ron?
Unofficially, it'll put him right there. If if it's a 4, then he's definitely tied. If it's a 4.5, he probably took the lead unofficially.
I'm gonna go out on a limb and say
he did.
That day 1 and day 2 leader, Brent Ayler, this is the least he's been behind in the mornings.
You're right.
In this event.
That's right. He had to crawl out of a huge hole yesterday.
Generally, he's been 10 to 20 pounds behind in the first hour every day.
Yeah. Normally that happens if I've been fishing all day and haven't retied in a while. My line's been stretched a bunch.
Bradley Roy hooked up. Looks like a dadgum stud catfish or something right there.
Come here. Quit. Quit. it. I'm just trying to hold
You
it.
watch Edwin right now, man. He is keyed up.
Look at all those boats following Edwin Evers around. That's just part of the king wearing the crown. That comes with the suit. Absolutely.
When we
for
get back,
Edwin
I want
Evers.
to talk a little bit about he's skipping these pockets and that sort of thing.
Okay.
It's interesting learning this morning.
But really, watch Evers' mannerisms right now. But he is in the game if you watch him. Just look at his face the next time we come back from break.
Absolutely. He knows how important it is to get off to that great start because that's exactly what he's done each of these first 2 days. Edwin Evers looking for a rare thing 2 in a row here on Lake Conroe at the Geico Bassmaster Classic presented by Dick's Sporting Goods. Bassmaster Live. Be right back.
Is there a place where the underwater images are the clearest you've ever seen? We're seeing every fish, we're seeing every detail of structure, and where every bottom contour was visible, where whatever you wanted to see below the surface was real. Do you want to go? Structure Scan 3D is the future of fishing. We can show you how to find fish faster and catch fish in a way you've never experienced. Let's get them.
Eat, sleep, fish. A motto all Skeeter owners live by, with 16 consecutive NMMA CSI Consumer Satisfaction Awards. Our competition doesn't even come close. Right now, buy Save Fish with up to $1,500 in instant rebates through March 31st, including the newly redesigned limited edition FX series. Visit us for all the details at the Expo Center, booth 1225.
Champions aren't born. They're created. Every turn of the prop, every mile on the lake, every cast of the rod, every fish they catch, and every pound they weigh. It builds who they are. It builds a legacy.
Now for your 2016 Bassmaster Angler of the Year!
If you're camping, fishing, hunting, or off-roading, we call it sea-pecking. In 1958, Dick Seapeck wrote the book. He was the creator of the original adventure tire. Dick Seapeck has a complete line of adventure tires and wheels. As the originator, Dick Seapeck knows what you need. Tires engineered for adventure, traction, reliability, and durability. If you're camping, fishing, hunting, or off-roading, oh yeah, you're sea-pecking now. Dick Seapeck tires, proudly made in the good old USA.
Facts matter. All monofilament is not the same. Berkley is the strongest, smoothest, most dependable monofilament line in the world. Why would you risk your fishing trip to a line that's made who knows where just to save a buck? Berkley has been making and perfecting Trilene in America for over 75 years. I spool nothing less than the best. That's Berkley Trilene, and that is a fact.
The 2017 Bassmaster Classic presented by Dick's Sporting Goods is being brought to you live by Toyota.
5 more hours of Bassmaster Live coverage of the Bassmaster Classic coming your way today. And we got the big time weigh-in. Man, Minute Maid Park, home of the Astros. What a fantastic setting it was. Breathtaking yesterday to see that huge crowd in there into every second of that iconic event, the Classic weigh-in. And the last one is the biggest one. That's the one with all the fireworks, all the pageantry, and you do not want to miss it. 5:30 Eastern Time today. See it on Bassmaster.com. If you're in Houston, get over to Minute Maid, that is for sure. We saw James Elan with a trying moment early on this final day, losing a good fish early on, a guy who wasn't getting that many bites to begin with. This was early. Just moments ago, this.
That feels good. I think that's a keeper. Yeah, they gotta be 16 here. About 16.
James Elam with a limit with a legal fish there, 16, a little bit more than 16, maybe 17. May not look like a big one. Ronnie Moore rightly pointed out, could be won by that fish right there today. 16 inches are important.
It really good. I noticed he had a spinning rod in his hand that first fish.
Switched over right there.
Yeah. I'm not saying they won't catch a lot of fish on the spinning rod, but they're just a little easier to lose, and he needed that one in the boat.
Dave Lefebvre started the day in second place, just a couple of pounds back. Bradley Roy in his first Bassmaster Classic. Got a fish in the boat. That's a good place to be right now. Still in the first hour of fishing on the final day.
No doubt about it. Bradley Roy starting off good today. It was a slow grind for him yesterday. From there, Edwin Evers still covering ground. Has one good one in the live well. Little bit behind pace of day one and day two.
Huge crowd following Edwin Evers around and back around. We come to James Elam.
He's got to really be feeling good today to have 2 bites. Unfortunately, he lost one of them, but he was a guy yesterday that told us he wasn't sure he could get a bite today. So even though he's lost one, he's got to be feeling better about his chances.
Hey,
right
and I'm
now.
going to tell you, one of the things about James Elam, truly one of the best young stars right now on the Bassmasters Elite Series. See Brent Ehlers trying to get things going here this morning. I think it was interesting to see him kind of switch up a little bit from what we got to see on days 1 and days 2.
Let's take a look at something just moments ago from Brent Ehlers.
That was moments ago with Brent Ehlers.
You mentioned he was mixing it up a little bit this morning. He said he saw a little shad spawn going on he hadn't been seeing. That's the first time we saw him pitch that D-shad into that thick brush. That's the way he's really made his hay.
Keeper right there for Brent Ehlers.
Yeah.
Put him back in the lead. Little bit rough service right there.
Number 1.
How big is that fish for him mentally this morning?
Huge.
Huge.
This was also moments ago. Dave Lefebvre.
I don't think he's going to make it. $15.25. Oh, he's closer than I thought.
Looking for 16-inch size limit here on Conroe.
Keeper. Awesome.
Keeper number
Number
one
one.
for Lefebvre. Lefebvre's lived pretty much the entire tournament.
Boy, he's a
with
little one.
homemade 5/16 ounce jig.
Haven't
We'll show
seen
that
any
in
of
a little bit.
There's our rules of the game. We got a 5-fish limit again. 16 inches is the minimum length there. Highest 3-day cumulative weight wins, and we are going to fish 8 hours today, a full 8-hour day. If you go and work your job for 8 hours, if I had a real job and I work at 8 hours, and I'm dreaming of that day, that's what they're putting in, just like you and me, if I had one.
That was awesome. Davey, for people at home, kind of describe what he's doing with that D-shad. No weight compared to the other anglers that were in this area in conjunction with that wind.
You know, the cool thing about sitting on this side of the desk is we're kind of on track, but you don't really know until you get to watch the guys a few days and you really find out more because they'll tell you going into the final day. And we were on track about the bite and the bait not falling vertically, more horizontal, going down at least like a 45-degree angle, a glide. We were dead on with that. And we were dead on with the lighter sinkers really helped that, even if you're using the creature baits. But Brent Ehlers just took it to another level this week. He talked to us yesterday. He's using a bait that very few people flip, period. but when they do, they use a tungsten sinker. He's flipping a bait that most people fish in open water. It's a soft plastic jerk bait. It's a D-shad. It's got a very unique fall, and he's flipping it in there totally weightless. These fish are in there. There's a lot of pressure, a lot of really, really good fishermen around them, and they see a lot of baits. They get pressure year-round down south like this, and he's been able to come up with a combination that these fish are biting. But the thing that impressed me so much about hearing him talking, he's not known to be this big-time flipper like the guys that were around him that he's caught more than this week. He's really got it dialed in. And when I heard him talking about what he was looking for, and you see all these sticks, as he calls them, all this wood, you can't possibly fish every single one. So what you've got to do is find out a certain target in that those fish are relating to. And he's got it dialed in. He talked about a certain way that the limbs come off horizontally, or anything that he sees laying in there on the water a little different.
How critical the line was, just the line size to get the correct fall for that D-shad.
The bait goes down, and we hope to get a D-shad and describe it a little bit more later in the day, how it falls and that sort of thing. But that's another thing that I called it Aaron Martin's
creepy,
spooky.
yeah.
Because he said, I'm fishing it weightless. I'm using 18-pound test fluorocarbon. I said, in that thick, heavy cover? He said, yeah, I need the heavier fluorocarbon to help it fall a little faster. I said, the obvious, why not use 20 as heavy cover? It falls a little too fast. It pulls on. I mean, he's that dialed in. And that's another reason why the wind is so critical.
I always want to fish off the right side of my boat, so you guys are going to follow me real close. If I stop, try to stop so we don't wash it out, and I'm going to fish back to you, okay? That makes sense? I want to fish off this side so I can work my bait and get a better hook set.
That's something that Kevin talked to us about yesterday. Kevin's had 20 boats the first 2 days, and how courteous the fishermen were, not fishing, but they wanted to go in front of him where he's fishing towards him a little bit, and it's causing a lot of trouble on these seawalls. Edwin hasn't had to deal with this until today.
And another thing about Ayler that I was watching yesterday when we were trying to figure out what he was flipping was number one, I was like, wow, he is getting a good hook in him. Every one that he was catching, I was like, and whenever you're using a weightless soft plastic, generally you get a pretty good hook in them. Yeah. And I was amazed by he wasn't cracking them. He just kind of leaned into them. And that's when I started to think something different going on with what he's doing. And what's amazing to me is a lot of those big ones yesterday was how far back he was putting that bait.
He's been fortunate to be able to land all those fish in this tournament. He talked about it a little bit the first day. That 9-pounder was on the other side of some wood when he set the hook and the fish just jumped over it coming to him. That's one thing we don't need to forget about. When karma starts happening like that for you, 9-pounders jump over the wood towards your boat, it might be your week.
He made the comment, he goes, if he'd have turned 1 degree to the right, I would have lost him. A lot of boat weights for Evers right there.
That's Kevin's cat, I hear. Kevin Van Dam can do the best cat.
Glad you're in the back.
He talks to the dogs in a language that they really want to bark. Yeah,
Iaconelli does too. Iaconelli does too.
Sometimes too.
Yeah, he'll rough talk them.
Yeah. But Kevin can really get them riled up.
Sucker looks like he's gonna rip your head off, don't he?
Zackers.
A lot of 3-pounders getting caught. Cliff Crochet, Brett Hyde, Jordan Lee 3.5. Steve Kennedy's got 3 for 9.4.
And Kennedy, that was the first guy that was a bigger margin behind. He was 8th place behind Van Dam, but he was the gap. He was 10 pounds back. So we don't know if that's a close enough gap to come back, but he's off to a great start, obviously.
We need to move.
Here's another thing start going on in Edwin's mind. Need to move, and he's been moving a lot early.
Yep.
Oh, dang it. But he knows when he moves, things get stirred up again.
Go a little bit further. And they're up there, shallow. I don't know what it was. It didn't swoosh like it was hard chasing something, but.
It's like a good one for bass. Two of them hooked up. Ayler hooked one too, didn't he?
That's a little better one. Still not the big ones, but.
It doesn't get much better than that, folks. Wow. Watch it.
Wow. Yeah, 2-pounder. Number 2. Oh, I guess I better turn those live wells on, huh? Might as well, since I have fish in there.
He's not hiding the bait as much today. Let's get a look at this when he rigs it up.
Maybe we can get something out to Eric to show us this right here.
That's the deal.
There you go. Is it fair to call that the Yamaha Taste the Bait right now?
Sounds like an opportunity, a window.
Well done.
A window of opportunity. The Yamaha Taste the Bait playing out before our very eyes right here.
Getting a good look at it right there. And, Davey, it's kind of been a 1-2 punch so far this tournament.
It has. I like to talk about this bait just a little bit because it's so unique and it's so different. We knew something was going on. We could see in the background there were great fishermen all around Brett Ayler. And that's why he's been hiding the bait from us all week. He knew he had a little different deal dialed in that other folks didn't know about. But it's just so smart on his part to come up with a bait like this. We talked about the fish being suspended, not on the bottom. You don't need a lot of weight. And he's not using a lot of weight. He's not using any weight.
You and I have a lot of friends that we like to call old Texas hands. I'll even throw my buddy Greg Hackney in here. I'm talking about braid, a 3/4 ounce jig. You're looking at a guy flipping a weightless bait, pretty dirty water, pretty heavy cover. Would you have thought that coming into this tournament ever, Dave?
No. And the other thing, he's doing it where every local I talked to said it couldn't be one up there because of too much pressure.
Right.
That's too much pressure with a 3/4 ounce jig that they see 100 of every week.
Brett Ayler, solid start. 2 fish in the live well. Take a look at Edwin Evers right here. Looks like he's throwing I believe that's an Andy's custom jig right there, and War Eagle spinner bait. 1/2 ounce and 3/4.
The only difference in the spinner baits, he's throwing a double willow sometimes and willow Colorado combination. The other, notice both of them have a very big back blade.
Now, one of the anglers that was a little bit elusive with us on his jig,
just a little,
Dave Lefebvre, everything that he has put on the scale has come on that jig right there, 5/16 homemade jig. He said the key to that jig, a lot of skirting, gives it a very, very slow fall, a super chunk trailer. And the other side is Dave Lefebvre, if you look at what he's fishing, the majority of what he's learned on this lake has come off Google Earth when this lake was low, okay? He's fishing a lot of pipes that come out of these seawalls, a lot of areas that he'll call a spider vein, where maybe you'll have a break in a seawall, where you're going to have runoff from rains that'll make a depression, where he'll say, on these seawalls, it might only be a foot of water where it goes down to 1.5 feet and makes a little crevice right there. And the beautiful thing about it is, he said, guys that were fishing in this tournament, his competition that would go through these areas, thought he was just fishing the seawall, but everything he learned, all the way back from when he won the Texas Bass Classic, his homework was done on Google Earth when this lake was low.
You talked about the depth he's fishing. I want to make a note, if you've never been on Lake Conroe, it is very hard to find a seawall with only 1.5 to 2 feet of water around it. That's been a key to what he's been doing all week.
Yeah, and he said a lot of the areas that he's caught them, and I mean big ones. He said, I could see the bottom.
Yep.
I can see the bottom, but there's just a little bit of a depression, and my line will just swim off. I said, well, how are they biting that jig, Dave? He said, day number 1, they'd slack line it. He said it was the best jig on planet Earth. Day number 2, he said it would feel just like a bluegill. Tick, 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 tick. And he said they were the same size fish.
Two very different baits that Brent Ehrler's using and Dave Lefebvre. But the reason they're both getting bit is very similar. Dave Lefebvre's using a 5/16 jig with a big trailer and a lot of skirt. So he's got a bait that he's keeping just up off the bottom. It's falling horizontally more than almost any other jig you could throw, because you got so much material there and only a 5/16 ounce.
Slow fall, slow. Again, if you're just joining us, Dave Lefebvre was one of those anglers that tried to get other techniques going throughout this tournament, because he's really been done fishing also at about 10:30, just like Evers every day. See, the sun's starting to get a lot higher, which will close that window about at each passing minute on that shad spawn.
I don't know. When they're up there.
1 hour of fishing done at this point.
Lefebvre told me his TTB Toyota Texas Bass Classic victory here in his 5th. In this event, he's done 3 different things, totally different.
Guys, gonna need to get confirmed on this one, but Ike and Ellie just popped on Bass Track. First fish of the day, 8 pounds.
Whoa!
Wow.
8 pounds. I'm gonna get on that real quick.
Yeah, that's critical information.
Tad bit of a game changer.
Yeah.
Let's look at it.
Yeah, that's a touchdown.
Yeah.
I'm just 2 pounds back of Baylor.
Such, say that again.
What, that Ike is only 2 pounds?
2
with that
pounds
8-pounder,
right now.
2 pounds
Behind Ehrler.
behind Ehrler with 1 fish. So, so it could be 1 on an 8-pounder.
We've had a 9+ caught in the first 2 days.
I made the comment during the last break with Davey, Tommy, is as inconsistent and all over the map that this tournament has been, something really strange will end up happening by the end of the day to win this tournament.
Kind of feel like you're right.
100%.
And what's scary is that the difference in an 8 and a 9 is kind of hard to judge. So it could be a 9-pounder, could be an 8.5. You know, it's just a beast of a fish in general.
Dude, hey, this way, please.
Just got the blog in.
Stretch over there.
Just got the blog in from Trey Reed. They're saying Ike is calling it a 10-pounder, and then he just caught a 3-pounder after it. A blog came in moments after that.
Unofficial leader.
That would certainly make him the unofficial leader, yes.
Have to get some info from Bob Floyd on this whole situation here in a little bit.
I think so. You can bet if he's not on it, he's getting there.
Both fish came within 5 minutes of each other.
Ike did say after the weigh-in, wait, what's going on there with Edwin? What's happening here?
Oh, God, one had it. Oh, my goodness.
Hey. What?
One had it again.
Saw one up there.
That is a prickly tree.
Oh, really?
I mean,
You must really like that spinnerbait.
that spinnerbait's way down there.
Hooked up right now, James Elam.
Better not take you off of him. He's way ahead of schedules.
Mm-hmm.
Way ahead.
I don't think that one's going to make it. No.
Close.
It's not.
Nope.
Get a look at this bait setup. Take a look at his bait setup too. Zoom trick worm, red bug color.
Is he doing that with the bait caster?
I think he is now. I think he is after he lost that fish.
I thought maybe it was a different bait.
No, same bait. Looked like it.
Boy, Brett's really pitching way back in there.
But Ehlers made the comment several times to his cameraman, Eric Kafka, that he's been seeing movement. You know, he talked about it yesterday. So he said, you know, I'd see a lot of pushes, a lot of fish chasing. And he did make the comment several times to Eric this morning that he said, man, they're way back today. Which a lot of his big ones yesterday came
Mm-hmm.
They were back, but
heavy in there. Yeah.
It really looks like he's pitching farther than I've seen him.
Right.
And you're exactly right. A lot of them came from in that stuff, but he's got his boat rubbing the outside edge of it this morning.
I'm fixing to go. We're gonna move.
Just hit it and then take it. Just wait it.
All kind of stuff in my seat.
Brett Ayler with 2 small ones. Kevin Van Dam still looking for his first keeper of the day. Get ready to take a break here on Bassmaster Live. Still plenty to come. Just over an hour of fishing time under their belts today on the final day. Coming up next, man, what a show we had at the second stop of this year.
Yes.
Lake Okeechobee. That was a gunfight. That was one of those
No
running
doubt
gunfights
about it.
up and down Main Street, just like in the movies. And Timmy Horton wound up getting the bad guys. He won. He stood on top. He'll be our guest when we return.
The competition is fierce and the prizes are huge. The only thing missing is you. Fantasy Fishing presented by Toyota. Sign up for free and face fans from across the nation. Grand prize winner receives a Triton Yamaha package, including a Triton 189 TRX. MSRP of $37,293. The Classic and each individual Elite Event winner will receive $2,500 Bass Pro Shops gift cards, with the runner-up receiving a GoPro Hero 4 Black camera. Sign up and pick your team today at BassmasterFantasy.com.
Yamaha VMAX SHO, the game changer. The pros knew right out of the first hole shot that the VMAX SHO was the real deal. VMAX SHO exceeds 2-stroke performance, delivers 4-stroke efficiency, and is packed with legendary Yamaha reliability. It's the faster, stronger, smarter, lighter family of VMAX SHO outboards from Yamaha.
If you love bass fishing, then show your support by joining B.A.S.S today. Since 1968, B.A.S.S has been serving bass fishing enthusiasts with information and tournament coverage that make you a better angler. When you sign up today, you'll join over 500,000 outdoorsmen who love bass fishing. With your membership, you'll receive every issue of Bassmaster magazine, plus $50 in free gear, including a membership tackle bag, B.A.S.S cap, plus more. Log on to Bassmaster.com to join Bass today.
Are you ready for this? Your 2016 Geico Bassmaster Classic champion, Edwin Ebert. Grove, Oklahoma, I need you to get loud when I call these anglers out. These are the 55 best bass anglers in the universe. Oh, yeah, it's nice. Tennessee, how's everybody doing today? We are excited to get this season kicked off. It all starts here.
Barely hooked, dude. Barely hooked.
Yes! Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
Stay down, stay down. Stay down, open your mouth, open your mouth.
Yes! Thank you. Yeah! That's a big one. That's for you, Mama. How about that right there now? Woo! Ooh, yes! 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 Bishop Wheeler.
Bassmaster Elite's second event for 2017 at legendary Lake Okeechobee. So much tradition here and so many amazing eye-popping results.
Yeah, buddy's right. Yes! Yes! Give me some high-five lads. Yes.
Take a closer look at that one.
I ain't never flipped a fish that big before, I don't think. Woo! Stay hooked.
Almost 30 years ago, I fished my first Bassmaster tournament. Once you win one classic, you want another. Once you win Angler of the Year once, nothing satisfies anymore. I love the competition. I love that people are always gunning for me. I never would have guessed that I'd be the guy with the bullseye on my back, but I'm cool with that.
Toyota, let's go places.
Think you could win valuable prizes from Bassmaster? You can't know unless you enter, and entering is easy. Go to Bassmaster.com. Enter now for a chance to win a fishing trip with 2016 Toyota Bassmaster Angler of the Year Gerald Swindle. Trip includes airfare, rental car, hotel, and $500 cash, plus a Triton 17 TX bass boat, Mercury engine, and Gerald's gear from Humminbird, Minn Kota, GoPro, and more. You, the winner of a valuable prize? Could be. All you have to do to get your shot is go to Bassmaster.com and enter today and every day. Hey, it could be you.
Let us make this absolutely clear. The days of wasted casts and missed opportunities are over. New Mega Imaging takes fishing into the megahertz range for the first time, because higher frequency sonar means higher frequency of this. Without a doubt, it's the most detailed picture of the world below ever. And it's only from Humminbird.
That's awesome.
That's so cool. It's a game changer.
This thing steers just as easy in the thick stuff as it does out there in the open water.
It's much quieter. It's more responsive.
Hit one button, you're locked down.
It's holding us right in place. It's anchoring us right here.
That new spot lock is dead on.
You know, the only fighting you have to worry about is fighting the fish now.
That's amazing. Absolutely amazing.
The 2017 Bassmaster Classic presented by Dick's Sporting Goods is being brought to you live by Toyota.
Biggest day of the year, that's for sure. Last day of the Bassmaster Classic. As we look at that interesting footage in the background, we talk about the next stop for the Bassmaster Elite Series. They got 2 under their belt so far. And in Manny, Louisiana, April 6th through 9th on big old Toledo Bend. That's where the Bassmaster Elite Series is going to tee it up for the 3rd stop of the year. Always an interesting tournament. The defending champ is out in our field right now trying to win his 5th Bassmaster Classic. That would be Kevin Van Dam. And right now we're looking at some footage of a great tournament. The 2nd stop of the year here at one of those iconic places, Lake Okeechobee. And the one and only Timmy Horton with his 5th Bassmaster victory. An absolute gunfight up and down the street. It's just like one of the old cowboy movies. You're down, then you're up, then you're down, and then at the end, you stood on top. Timmy, thanks so much for joining us here today. And I might also point out, this is the only man to ever win Toyota Bassmaster Angler of the Year while he was in his spare time, basically while he was busy winning Rookie of the Year. Is that a way you could put it?
I was too dumb to know better. That was a fun year. It really was. And that was a fun event. I tell you, that deal at Lake Okeechobee, the gunfight, I was definitely limping that last day, that's for sure.
It really looked like you were running away with the deal, and you were. But Lake Okeechobee, every single time we go there, the wind changes, the fish changes, never ends up being easy, although it seems like every time the first day or two it looks like somebody's going to run away with this deal.
Yeah, it does, and then they'll come in with a small bag, and that's what happened. Fortunately, I guess that day 2 bag really carried me through, but, on day 2, we had a wind that was pretty strong, but it had enough northeast to it that island protected it, and boy, that last day, it said northeast, but I got down there, and it was almost more northwest, and it was just nasty, and couldn't get comfortable down there, but it was an exciting day, to say the least.
Tell us a little bit about that, because it amazed me going to Lake Okeechobee. The wind, what it does to those fish, and if, like you said, a little bit of east, a little bit of west, difference in the direction just can totally wash out a place.
Yeah, it really does, and it's not so much the wave action because in the shallow water, there's enough Kissimmee grass out there to kind of protect that and knock it down. But what happens is it creates so much current, it pushes that lake water into there, and lake water in Lake Okeechobee is just really brown and really stained up, and you just can't catch them at all, even if it lays down and it's still dirty like that.
Well, you caught them pretty good. Caught them better than everybody else. It was so fun. 3 mornings in a row in the first hour, we watched you get a 8+ pound bite. 3 mornings in a row, and you caught 2 out of 3, and fish that size. Yeah. If you catch 2 out of 3, I know you can laugh or smile about it now. It had to be tough that one day.
Oh, my God.
But to land 2 out of 3 that size in that kind of cover is still a great job.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, that stuff's pretty thick. And I think I was kidding with Zona. I was using his troll car hook. I fell in love with that thing. But, it really had 17 of those bites and landed 15 of them.
That's incredible.
And Davey, when you have that kind of good fortune going, it really helps you get to the win.
Every win is special, I know, especially on the Elite Series, but to win at one of those places like Okeechobee, that just stands the symbol of bass fishing, got to be a little bit extra special to do that.
It does, and these are so hard to come by. These guys are so good, and it just, it had been since 2007 at Lake Champlain, and when I lost it on stage, that was a culmination of excitement and relief at the same time. It was just overcome with emotion.
This is fun stuff to watch. This was the first time I'd ever been in studio working with Tommy, and I was nervous. I was a rookie, but with the veteran, the legend.
Shoot.
So I knew it'd be easy with him just throwing me soft pitches, but to watch you catch those fish that side, it was just fun.
We were just kind of bystanders after a while. You put on quite a show there, Timmy. Then just the emotion of that missed fish in day 3 is just, that carried us through the whole thing. It's not a great moment for you, but that's the drama. That's what draws people into the sport.
It is. It's the good and the bad, and what we have is twists and turns in every direction in an event, and that's what we love. I think people are loving about Bass Live. I got home from that event, and what makes it so different now is people get to feel that the whole weekend. Just like they're experiencing here with the Classic, and they're feeling these emotions. You take a look at Brent here. They're feeling what they're feeling, and it's just a game changer for our sport. It's really cool what you guys are doing.
Let me ask you, speaking of Brent and great guys in the sport, he's won everything, but hasn't been over here very long, but he's on the biggest stage in the biggest event. What he's doing here, he's had some really, really good fishermen around. Have you been able to watch much of this? He's had some, you see in the background, some of the best, if not the best, shallow water fishermen in the world around him. And he's pitching a soft plastic jerkbait, a D-shad in this case, but a soft plastic jerkbait, weightless, into this thick stuff. Does that surprise you?
Yeah, weightless is a surprise, and that tells you he's fishing for spawners or fry garters, talking about these fish moving. The thing about Brent, I heard Z say it yesterday. It's another Aaron Martins that just hasn't been fishing bass long enough for our audience to know it, and he's so good. He's so meticulous in what he does. It's amazing. I was surprised. With Edwin, I guess he's got one so far this morning. I really expected that shad spawn. That usually doesn't leave. That's usually always there. But one of the cool things, seeing how different what all of the guys are doing, but. There's definitely going to be a lot of fireworks. And Davey, it's funny you ask have I watched it. I've been late getting to my sponsor booths every day because I'm watching my phone as I walk around. I'm as intrigued about it as anybody.
That's cool. Because we can learn, no matter how long you've been fishing. Since I've been doing this, I've learned a lot more about people watching. And some guys that have been fishing for 20 years, fishing the Elite Series for 20 years, tell me about the way they can't get away from watching Bass Live. That's awesome.
It is. It's good as it gets. I think something that's happened this morning, we see a lot of guys and you see their body language of what's happening. And Ike probably tilts one way or the other more so than any other angler. You know, when he led at Wiley a few years ago and went in out day 2, I seen him about halfway through the day, and I knew he didn't have anything just by his body language. And with him catching that big fish this morning, I think you're going to see him fish completely different today than he did yesterday when he was struggling. And I think that's going to get a mental thing going for him, and you're going to see it in his body language and how he performs the rest of the day.
He had a spot from day 1 that just did not work out, and did a great job of fighting out of that, getting back in there, kind of the way you salvaged that weight on day number 3 there. And,
tell us about what was going on in your mind, Timmy, when you had to really put your head down and grind that final day. You had a big lead. You know, a lot of folks didn't think they had a chance. The only reason they did have a chance is because that wind direction changed, in my opinion. But when you saw that, you knew it was time to put your head down and grind. At least I think that's what you thought. What's going on in these guys' mind the final day of the Classic?
You know, I think they're on a place where they know that any cast can change things big time. You know, 8 to 10, maybe even 11-pounder. There's been a lot of share lunkers come out of this lake. It's one of the best trophy lakes in Texas. And these guys know that. I think I heard or read something that Kevin said earlier in the week that's going to happen. That a big fish and then somebody else get another good kicker to go with it is going to change things up on the final day. The cool thing about it, I think every one of these guys knows that's in the top 10, maybe even further. We've seen what happened with Randy Howell a few years ago, knows that they've got a chance to win. And but they definitely, you're going to see some changes throughout the day. I've been really surprised that some of these structure places has not showed up with big loads of fish. We heard Jordan Lee talk about that yesterday, and I think something like that could happen at the end of the day today.
It surprised a lot of people that there aren't more post-spawn fish being caught offshore. And you had Keith Combs, arguably the best post-spawn fisherman that Texas has seen.
No doubt.
Tremendous track record on Lake Conroe, and this place really stumped him this week.
Yeah, it really, and you know, a lot of times when they first come out, it's when you can really catch them. You can really sting them. And, you know, a lot of reports we read, you know, these bass have been spawning here for a while. You know, it's been so uncharacteristically warm. And that was a huge surprise. But I can't even remember in the Toyota Classics that the tournament Lefebvre one here, and that was when it was really set up. It was summertime, but those fish would not get out until late in the day on this lake. They would go up to the seawalls early in the morning. They would go up shallow. You could catch them on buzz baits and different things, and then it would really get popping late in the evening. And that could really, what Jordan said on stage yesterday really stuck with me, that I don't see Brent making that change. Brent's going to stick with what he's got. He would be crazy to do anything different. But I could see somebody like Edwin, who's been cranking a good bit late in the day, finding a place offshore and just it being a complete shock to them that those fish have showed up there. And that could happen today.
One of the puzzlers here is despite the difficulties guys have been having, we never heard one guy say, in this tournament, my fish have left, they're gone. Everyone says, hey, within my sight, several 30-pound bags anywhere you go on this lake, and it's just a tough nut to crack. This is a
really
hard one to figure out.
So frustrating. And I don't know if it's because I've known Edwin for 15, maybe 20 years now that I can read this, or if everyone watching that's maybe never even personally met Edwin, but I can read his body language. He's struggling. He's going through what most other people in the field have gone through in this tournament at some point. I can't believe I'm not catching him.
Yeah.
I can't believe I'm not catching him. Everyone else except him has thought that, because he's caught him. He's the only one that's caught a good stringer in the first hour both mornings.
And Davey, you know this. Shad spawn don't leave. You know, that's usually a pattern. You think about Lake Guntersville and some of the places we've been when the shad spawn is lit up, and Edwin had it happen consistently every morning. And Bluebird Skies, it starts getting late like this, that deal gets over with quickly. That gets really tough.
Is that 4-box we were marking on earlier, loaded with the superstars, and a young man in his first Bassmaster Classic, but a fella who's done journeyman work, good work out here on the Bassmaster Elites, is earning his keep from a very young age. Bradley Roy, the feeling of a guy in his first Classic, Timmy, what's that like?
You know, I can remember in Chicago 0 in 3 days, so he's he's doing really good. Bradley is just a steady Eddie, man. He minds his own business out there on tour. Very polite young guy and just solid. He's just solid, and he's eat up with the sport. And he's doing something like what we talked about offshore, and magic could happen with that.
I said yesterday morning when they put a camera in the boat with him at the Bassmaster Classic, his first classic, we're going to learn a lot about Bradley Roy. And he did great. He really stuck it out and just put his head down and grinding the day out like I talked about you did, a veteran like you did at Lake Okeechobee. Did a good job and survived. He was one of the only guys that we have a camera on today, probably the only guy that has been able to grind out the deep bite and catch most all of his fish.
You and Zona remarking earlier, I mean, just wise beyond his years, mature beyond his years. James Elam, both refusing to be spun out. They're going to stick right with what they're doing, as difficult, as slow, as tough as it may seem. And let's take a look at James Elam right now.
Do what?
Yeah, just another guy that, just poised. You see him working on his tackle. He's not spun out, wondering what everyone else is doing. And you see that in the parking lot in hotels. You see that when these guys are doing stuff. I was with James a few years ago. He and I stayed beside the hotel at the Alabama River there when we had the current. And, man, it just first time I met him, and I'm like, okay, this guy will be here a while. You can just see that stuff.
A lot of pressure on him last year in Oklahoma.
Definitely
a lot
one
of
of the
pressure
favorites.
on him to do well, and that was his first classic, and a lot of hometown pressure, but made him salty.
It did. Yeah. A lot of times that's good for you, ain't it?
Yep.
Dave? No doubt.
That was earlier today, a good keeper after missing a really good one. His first one of the day, but his number of bites, as we said, are a little bit ahead of schedule for him. 4 bites on day 1 and 5 on day 2.
Well, he's on the right size too. Getting those kind of bites, and in 3rd place, 4th place after yesterday. So
what's scary is that he only came in with 4 fish on day 1, even though he had 20 pounds. And so that could be the crippling thing, 2 days ago.
Get back to the 4-time.
Speaking of salty,
Bassmaster Classic champion. Pretty
the
salty guy right here. A little bit.
He is the dude.
yeah, it's so neat to see all these different patterns. But you know what? These guys are fishing their strengths. Who would be more surprised? Kevin working a jerkbait. And the thing about jerkbaits, you can hit a school too. This is one of those deals that you can pull up and get 3 or 4 real quick, and they can be good ones.
He's the only one we've seen on camera fishing a jerkbait. Maybe someone else has, but not many people were talking about even a deep jerkbait. He's been throwing some. Not many people were talking about that when they announced this classic.
Speaking of good ones, Jordan Lee just got another 5.5 pounder. He's already climbed inside the top 10.
Wow.
2 for 9 total. He's 8th.
Yeah, when he said he caught a 5 yesterday and a whole school came in, he said that on stage. It gave me chill bumps. Because what happens with these fish when they get ready to come out, they will group up in a place like what Ealer's fishing. They will kind of get on the end of those points and get together in a group. And when they come out, they're dumb as they can be, so to speak, for to be catchable. They're ready to eat, and they will show up in schools and just chase anything that's there. And
Kevin Van Dam still looking for that keeper. Another guy who's got a great track record here. Lake Conroe, former winner of the Toyota Texas Bass Classic. Certainly a slower start for him than what he's experienced so far in this tournament.
It really is. And I said Edwin is the only one that hasn't caught him easy and early in the morning the first 2 days. Here's the only other one. I misspoke. Here's a guy that said yesterday, the second day of the Bassmaster Classic at 10:30, he quit fishing his pattern.
Wow.
And he's doing something really, really different, Timmy. You haven't been able to talk to him like we have. We get to interview and talk to these guys, and we haven't been able to talk about it. And a lot of folks watching don't understand that. But out of respect for these guys, we can't dial into it too much because their competitors have access to information also. So we're going to be able to talk about that more today. He's fishing a lot, and most people thought he was fishing docks. The only guy fishing docks who was really catching them. He's fishing in between the docks. He's fishing the seawall, and he's concentrated on little small, I'm going to call them erosion ditches, little trenches that come out of these seawalls where the water comes off of these lawns and these marinas, these parking lots,
There's
the
one right
pipes.
there.
There's some under the water, but that's a great picture of one right there.
Yeah, that's cool. That's a pattern within a pattern, and yeah, he's been consistent each day with his weight, and it was so cool. I mean, we've just jumped to 5 anglers now in the last 3 to 4 minutes. Every one of them's doing something different.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
heaven for the bass fishing fan, right, Tim?
It's heaven for us on live too.
No
I
doubt.
must admit.
Yep.
That is amazing.
Yeah, Cherokee, it took us about 40 seconds to do Taste the Bait every day. The same old bait every day for everybody.
Yeah.
Question for you guys when we were talking about Jordan Lee a minute ago and Bradley Roy. If anglers that are fishing offshore see other anglers catch them offshore, how much does that make you want to stay there? You know, how much does that make Bradley Roy want to stay there knowing that, you know, Jordan Lee, he's seen him offshore, you know, throughout the tournament?
Yeah, that's a great point. If I was fishing offshore and I heard a comment like what Jordan made yesterday, it would sure give me more confidence to stay out there. It's probably gotten in the head of some of the guys, too, that are going to be fishing shallow that may have a tough day. You almost get to where you've got to make a gamble. You know, if it gets late in the day and the shallow fish aren't happening, that's your only chance to win. And these guys are shooting for one position today, and that's first place.
But I don't know if you were listening to weigh in when another guy weighed in and said, my knees are trembling. I saw more fish up shallow, 30, 35-pound stringer. So you listen to one, and then you listen to the other, and then you're confused.
Yeah, I went to the bathroom on that one. I didn't hear that. But that would make you wonder, I guess. And as a testament, you know, we just talked about it. It's amazing. Every one of these guys are usually guys get dialed in on a pattern on a lake, and at least 3 of the top 5 are doing the same thing. This is stuff we've never seen before. Absolutely different patterns with every single angler in the top 5.
But it sounds like typical Lake Conroe.
Yeah. From what we're learning.
I mean, look, you'd think, okay, now we're on a different lake, you know?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
More anxious to see what happens right over there. And right here, I think that from what I've seen here, they bit more amount over there, and then right here a little bit, and then nothing through the back. But then that little stretch over there is, hopefully I can catch a good one over there.
Quick update from, we don't have live with Iconelli, but we got a blog talking about he's fishing near the dam with the Carolina rig, so he may have caught the big one there offshore.
Wow.
He told us that's where he was going to start.
Yeah.
It's almost one of those day one deals where he caught that big one and it helped him dial in and stay with it all day.
Yeah, that big one came from not far from there, that's for sure.
Yeah, he's worked his way down the dam, and he just actually brought in a rod and reel from the brush piles down there.
Bassmaster Classic Expo presented by Dick's Sporting Goods. Going to open the doors here to the general public here in just a little bit. It's a huge, huge event, one of the iconic parts of the Bassmaster Classic, a main component. Your classic experience is not complete unless you get over here and just have the big old home week for everybody in the bass fishing community, the stars, the regular anglers, the folks who are interested, and the folks who have been doing it for 60 years. It's just great to walk around here, isn't it, Timmy?
Oh, it's incredible. You know, it's my struggle is watching you guys. I'm telling you, man, I'm late getting everywhere I am, but the outdoor show's incredible. Watching everybody all wide-eyed, it's awesome.
Here's the moment. I know you've been waiting for this moment, Timmy. Who's going to win the Bassmaster Classic?
I'm going with Ayler. I think he's got some mojo.
All right, that's good. Timmy Horton off to a great start in this season, man. You can't start a whole lot better than that. I know you're looking forward to the rest of it when we resume with the Bassmaster Elite Series. We're going to resume with the Geico Bassmaster Classic from H-Town, the Bayou City, Houston, Texas. Just a little bit, what a host city this has been. And, of course, those weigh-ins, you got to see it this afternoon, 5:30. on Bassmaster.com. Minute Maid Park, home of the Astros, all filled up with wild, excited fans. It is going to be a spectacle, and we're going to crown our world champion then. Got plenty of fishing before that, though, so definitely stay with us.
The 2017 Geico Bassmaster Classic presented by Dick's Sporting Goods is brought to you by Joe Rotella, Yamaha, Triton Boats, Toyota, Power Pole, and by Skeeter Boats.
Is there a place where the underwater images are the clearest you've ever seen? We're seeing every fish, we're seeing every detail of structure, and where every bottom contour was visible, where whatever you wanted to see below the surface was real. Do you want to go? Structure Scan 3D is the future of fishing. We can show you how to find fish faster and catch fish in a way you've never experienced. Let's get them.
Eat, sleep, fish. A motto all Skeeter owners live by, with 16 consecutive NMMA CSI Consumer Satisfaction Awards. Our competition doesn't even come close. Right now, buy, save, fish with up to $1,500 in instant rebates through March 31st, including the newly redesigned limited edition FX series. Visit us for all the details at the Expo Center, booth 1225.
Champions aren't born, they're created. Every turn of the prop, every mile on the lake, every cast of the rod, every fish they catch, and every pound they weigh. It builds who they are. It builds a legacy.
Now for your 2016 Bassmaster Angler of the Year!
If you're camping, fishing, hunting, or off-roading, we call it sea-pecking. In 1958, Dick Seapeck wrote the book. He was the creator of the original adventure tire. Dick Seapeck has a complete line of adventure tires and wheels. As the originator, Dick Seapeck knows what you need. Tires engineered for adventure, traction, reliability, and durability. If you're camping, fishing, hunting, or off-roading, oh yeah, you're sea-pecking now. Dick Seapeck tires, proudly made in the good old USA.
Facts matter. All monofilament is not the same. Berkley is the strongest, smoothest, most dependable monofilament line in the world. Why would you risk your fishing trip to a line that's made who knows where just to save a buck? Berkley has been making and perfecting trilene in America for over 75 years. I spool nothing less than the best. That's Berkley trilene, and that is a fact.
The 2017 Bassmaster Classic presented by Dick's Sporting Goods is being brought to you live by Toyota.
This is it, the Classic, the final day, the biggest day in the sport of fishing on Lake Conroe for the first time ever. Host city, Houston, Texas. We got one more hour to go in our morning session of Bassmaster Live. Take a break then and come back at 12:30 p.m. Eastern Time. Take you all the way to 3:30, getting close to the end of fishing before they wind them up. Head back to Houston, Texas, in the Minute Maid Arena. Get ready for that big, the triumphant weigh-in for one angler whose life will be changed, that's for sure. Someone who's been through that change at the 2003 Geico Bassmaster Classic champion. That was Michael Iaconelli, neighboring Louisiana, not too far away. They're in the Delta, and he's the guy that's made the major move today with 11 pounds. The first couple of hours of fishing. This was just moments ago, though. Let's take a look at the guy who started this day with a 2-pound lead, Brent Ayler.
Jeez, that was an aggressive bite. I don't know if he's going to keep, but he might be close.
Boy,
that is a line burner right
there.
there.
Done that,
oh my
baby.
gosh! And I'm gonna tell you, Ron Moore nailed it this morning. With what you're seeing right now with Edwin Evers and Dave Lefebvre, every 16-incher right now in Brent Ehrler's live well is enormous for the rest of this day. This was a day where you kind of thought 3 to 4 pounders were going to be, you know, the 3 pounders were going to be on the low side, but you're going to need 4s. With that lack of shad spawn,
it barely touches the line.
Anything right now is
all
critical.
the levels have come down.
Absolutely,
No
man.
doubt about that. How many limits of 15 3/4 pound bass have been tossed back this week at Lake Conroe? 16 inches is a different deal.
We saw the drop in limits. Day 1, 26 limits. Yesterday, only 17. 6 guys zeroed as well yesterday.
I was listening to you guys when you were up here with Timmy, and I really guess I'm completely blown away from the first 2 days of this tournament to Edwin and Lefebvre right now. I'm stunned at that.
They're the only 2 guys that haven't said at some point in this tournament, I can't believe I'm not catching them, because they caught them, and even though they didn't keep catching them all day long, they had them in a live well riding around. But they're getting a taste of it this morning.
Hey, and if you look at it right now, if you look at Brent Ehrler, I want you to look at that kind of clear area of water and that ring of brush as what Ehrler calls sticks. Ehrler thinks this is an old pond. He's not sure of that, where the depression.
Oh, I guarantee you it is.
On his back. It's not deep water. It's not a deep water pond. It's not like it's being fed by 5 to 10 feet of water. The deep water there is what he calls 2 to 3 feet of water. Where that rim of brush is more up on that flat, maybe call it a foot of water to a foot and a half water. And the other thing that Ehrler said is there's no doubt in his mind that throughout this tournament he is catching spawners. He's not seeing them, but he knows they're spawning in that brush.
That 10-pounder and all the rest of them. He said, you know, right there in a foot of water.
Right.
Spawners, definitely, he said.
That's why that bait's been so effective, and no weight on it. All that is, it all comes together and starts making sense on Sunday, for sure, when you get to look at it in detail. He's so methodical. I just enjoy. I know I'm supposed to be talking about what's going on here. I enjoy just watching him.
Watching it.
He's hitting his talons, picks them up, moves 5 feet, drops them. He is not moving hardly at all.
No, and you know, the comparison that you brought it up, and you were talking with Timmy about this, is he's a different Aaron. He's a different Aaron, and here's how to describe that is I've spent a lot of time in the boat with both of those guys, and their attention to detail is so superior, and a lot of times it gets to the point where you're like, it's eccentric, but in their mind, you know, line size from 18-pound line to 20-pound line, from an 1/8 ounce weight or a 16th ounce weight to the rate of fall of no weight, that attention to detail in conjunction with other anglers around them. We started off on day 1. Ehrler was able to outfish a crowd, not another competitor, a crowd.
Yep.
That last fish, that line burner for Ehrler, put him back in the lead.
See that sun on Edwin Evers? See him going into it right now? It's not what you want when you've only got one in the live well.
It's not what it was supposed
and
to
been
be.
making your hay during the shad spawn.
It's supposed to have been cloudy today. There's a layer of clouds, but it's not any thicker than a shower curtain.
Good. That's why he's trying so hard to get that bait. You see him pitching on back up on that stuff this morning. He wasn't doing that as much. He's trying to get his bait back in that shade as much as he can.
And you can also see his speed and I mean, he has sped up in the last 30 minutes. Davey, if you can, kind of talk about, we brought it up a little bit this morning, looking at those sticks right there. Cameraman Eric Kafka bringing the magic, bringing the heat right now. Ayler made a comment about what kind of sticks they were on. Even though that all looks the same to somebody at home, talk about the difference of the ones that he's caught some of these bigger ones on.
To most people, those look like a bunch of sticks. Even to people that are, fish a fair amount, but there's no way you can beat the crowd you're fishing around unless you can eliminate some of the options. The pattern is he's pitching a soft plastic jerkbait in wood, foot to a foot and a half deep. And that is the story, a very, very short version of it. But what he has done, he's found the bait, which is so, so important, but he has found the stick, as he calls them, the dead tree, I want to call it. And he mentioned when I see one, it's almost like I can call it. When he sees the right stick, he's probably got them all named by now, as much attention to detail as he gives. But I thought to myself when he said that, every tournament, including the Bassmaster Classic that I won, when I saw the right deal, I knew it. The problem is they're not everywhere, what those fish want to be on. But when you get so dialed in that, hey, there it is, that's when you win tournaments. That's how you win a Bassmaster Classic, flipping and pitching. Denny Brower told me the same thing about when he won the year before I did.
See your shot.
Just you see the shot, you know the shot, and you're fishing lights out. Because if you're randomly fishing, number one, you're wasting a lot of presentations. But number two, you're out of position when that fish bites. If you see the shot and you pitch it in there, you are in position, you're ready, and you land a lot of those fish. When you're just pitching around, looking up at the sky, turn your head and that sort of thing, you raise up, he swam 3 feet to the left, you lose those fish.
As we have a little lull in the action right now, would you mind if I went back to the future real quick? Did you go full-blown bacon rind in your classic victory, Davey?
I did.
Morning.
Again, we look at our Rapala Live 5 all day long. One guy who did not make it high enough to get in our Rapala Live 5 today was this man, the 23 champ, 2003 champ, Michael Iaconelli. We're at the weigh-in. He showed some stuff there. Some hints of what might be coming, but he had generally had a rough start to his day. Had to salvage it, had to go up north in order to get those fish and get himself. At one point, he didn't even think he might make the cut. Now we've heard about what's been going on with him, and now we're set up to take a look at what's going on. Mike Iaconelli had the lead for a good while there, still right there. This was earlier today.
Big one. Big one. The giant. The big one. Oh my God. Oh my God, it's a 10-pounder. This is a game changer. What you doing? Lay down. Lay down. Don't do it.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, look at that big.
This can happen today. I can win this classic. That's 10 pounds. I just made up my difference. That's a 10-pounder, bro. Oh my God. That's a 10-pounder. $10-pounder. 10-pounder.
Is he in the marina?
No.
I don't think so either.
Thank you.
Looks like he's
No,
down by the dam.
That's 10 pounds. I just made up the
East end of the
difference.
dam.
Mark Zona. Mark Zona. This one's for you.
You begged him on Wednesday to do exactly that. Yes, you did too.
I did not do
you
such a
begged
thing.
him to do that,
I did,
and
didn't
he's
I?
made good on his promise.
Hey, I want to talk to you real quick. Usually, and I give him a hard time for this, usually he kind of big eyes them. Well, not usually, all the time. If that's not a 10, it is frighteningly close to a 10-pounder for the simple fact the girth of that fish is about 2 feet around.
Definitely pre-spawn fish there like we haven't even seen this week.
That is the biggest bass we've seen on Bassmaster Live.
No doubt.
Is that a pre-spawn fish?
Oh, jeez.
I mean, that's like the first legitimate where you're like, no doubt. Yeah. Hey, I'm going to talk to you. We have some sonar shots. One of the things Iaconelli has concentrated on, he's like, dude, don't say anything about this, is Tommy, when we got to follow him, besides the face of the dam, Iaconelli was looking for tires.
Yeah.
Outside of a lot of these points, and we're going to get some images hopefully a little bit later on of side imaging. There are a lot of these points, rolls of main lake points, where there's just sunken tires on this lake. Iaconelli, each morning, he would keep that Carolina rig honest. He's been Carolina rigging a lizard throughout practice, and he said, man, the first 2 hours of pre-practice here, I caught a bunch like that. Not a bunch, but I caught numbers of big ones on this lake. Now, yesterday, it didn't happen, but we did see one solid 6-pound bite on day one. I'm not going to say that's 10 pounds, but if it's not, it is within a quarter to a half pound of it. That's the biggest bass we've seen on camera by far this week.
I mean, right now, he's the guy who caught a 10.
Oh my God, it's a 10-pounder. This is a game changer.
No matter what, he's the guy he'll always be the guy who caught the 10-pounder in the final day of the Classic to take the lead.
Whether he wins or loses.
Come on.
This can happen today. I can win this Classic. That's 10 pounds.
All right, now check this out.
I just made up my difference. That's a 10-pounder, bro.
We got these images from one of the representatives from Humminbird, and I asked him, I said, is there any chance you can get us some underwater footage? And some of the guys from Humminbird went out. I said, what we're looking for, I want to go back to the one we were just looking at. Not that one right there, but the one that we were looking at. There's a series of points on the lower end of this lake, that one right there, that outside of some of the rock, outside of the seawalls, there's old sunken tires. And I asked Iaconelli, I said, describe when you get a bite on him. He goes, look, man, what I'll do is when I hit my Carolina rig up against those rubber tires, you know it's not rock. That rock's going to crunch. He said, I could feel it bounce like it ricochets off those tires. Several of his big fish in pre-practice, official practice, and this morning, that image right there that you're looking at is exactly where those isolated giants have been for Iaconelli.
That's exactly what guys have done for 40 or 50 years before side imaging came along, and they had their little sweet spots on those points. And now, plain as day, you see them with the Humminbird side imaging. Those are tires, and fish like to relate to them.
And here's the thing. There's just not one area looking at those tires right there on the lower end of this lake that have, there's probably, Iaconelli will tell you, there's probably 4 or 5 areas that have them, and they'll range from anywhere from about 7 to 9 feet of water all the way out to 18 to 25 feet of water. And I said, well, what's been the common depth zone? He says, none. None. He goes, you don't know when the boogeyman comes, but obviously this morning, finally in this tournament, the size that we've been waiting for. Yeah.
Incredible sequence right there. Game changer, certainly, on this final day of the Geico Bassmaster Classic. We get out the other end of Lake Conroe. Brent Ayler.
We've talked about Brent being behind first 2 mornings by a large amount.
11
He's
pounds.
been able to claw back each day. He's going to have to do it again today, and he's holding his own so far. To still have a slight lead after someone catching a 9 or 10 pounder, doing a good job.
What that weigh, Davey?
I'm with you.
I don't know that
it
it's
can
10.
be deceiving because it's the girth, but it doesn't look 10, but it very well might be because it's just so thick. But if I had to give you a guess, it's 9.5.
See, the problem is Mike only weighs 37 pounds.
Yeah, that makes you
so
right.
it's hard to put that scale up to it.
Brent Ayler with one that weighed 9 pounds and 12 ounces, better part of 10 on day number 1 here. Could be the exact same weight of that fish that Mike Iaconelli caught, and here they are at the top of the leaderboard, battling it out. As always, we got Robbie Floyd. He's with us at the takeoff today, and he's out on the lake. Triton on the line. It's where we find our own Bob Floyd. Robbie, where are you right now?
Right now I'm looking at Kevin Van Dam along the dam with about, 15 of his friends trying to see if he catches a fish. He didn't seem too happy a minute ago when I went up to his boat, and he said, I'm just not catching them. I'm seeing a lot of fish, busting around. I'm just not catching them.
That place, he told us how many fish live in that place right there yesterday. It's an incredible story.
Exactly right. Robbie, from all the tournaments that you've covered here, watching Van Dam, so many anglers have tried to rely on that dam, and I know actually Texas Parks and Wildlife, they've done studies along that dam, is what we heard yesterday after the weigh-in. Just describe the history that you have there throughout tournaments past, exactly where Van Dam is at right now.
Well, he's worked this whole damn stretch, but pardon my French, but he's looking for that shad spawn still. He told me, and that I went from Edwin Evers, who was doing it in a different area, to Kevin, who's doing it here on the riprap. Two guys trying to do the same thing in different parts of the lake, and Kevin's actually picking up, and he's heading straight north. He's getting away from the dam. He's over it. But, yeah, a lot of people say down here at the dam, we saw cliff perch not too far from where Kevin just left, just offshore. But the shad spawn thing is just not happening today. I mean, I don't know how long, guys, we're going to stick with it, and obviously Kevin may be having to finally decide to bail with it right now. One thing that I noticed, and there is no wind at all, and you know that if that wind was here pushing them up on that riprap or pushing them onto those break walls or seawalls, that had to have helped that shad spawn guys, and there's just no wind today comparatively. And if it gets hot in bluebird skies, and you already saw what Ike had, I think this could still be a big day for sight fishermen as the day progresses. But that one by Ike, and I'm glad you said a 10, because he said, Robbie, don't guess what it is, but if I've ever caught I've caught 9-pounders here, and that was bigger than that 9-pounder I've caught.
How much time have you spent around Ike this morning, Robbie?
I did for just a little bit when he caught that big one. He caught it on his second cast, and he's not only catching big bass, he also caught an old rod and reel, too. I've got old Rusty and Trusty here with me on the boat. I might have to give it to a lucky fan or my camera boat driver, Chris. But, yeah, he's catching more than fish. But I know y'all were talking about the tires and the Humminbird and the side imaging and stuff. Were y'all talking about, in general, how you can see in places and areas? Because specifically, where you think he was good looking at tires?
Oh, I don't know on that, Rob,
Yeah.
but I can tell you that throughout the week, talking to Tommy and myself, a lot of his big fish areas, that was one of the main keys. He actually was talking about it yesterday on live.
Right, okay. So, yeah, I wanted to make sure because on this spot, he told me it's only the second time he's been to it this week, and he caught that big fish on his second cast. But I said, you see him Carolina rigging. I said, is it a road bed? I mean, is there brush out there, something to relate to? And he said, no, it's just a hard spot. It's just one hard spot out there, and that little point that's off. And that's why I wanted to make sure if y'all saw something that I couldn't see. But, yeah, he told me it was just a hard spot that was out there. And you know how good these guys are at finding. I said, was it at a Toyota Texas Bass Classic spot that he's had from years past? And he said no.
Robbie, I know you gave us the first interview of the morning with the leader, Brent Ehlers, because you had to have spent a little time milling around with him there waiting for that. Did he mention to you a number of pounds he would need to catch? He felt comfortable he would have to catch to win the Bassmaster Classic today?
No, and Tommy, I feel bad for not asking because usually I hit the guys with that number, especially on a big fish lake where you can jump up 30, maybe 4 pounds today. And I usually ask for that number, but I didn't. That was my fault for not doing that. I was really just trying to see his temperament, his mood, and the time he was spending with his family down there, and he looked like typical Brent Ehlers. And, he's won big events before, and I've seen him win big events here in Texas before. And it just looked like a regular day, but, he doesn't quite have that regular day going like he's had on day one and day two.
He's a pretty good poker player, I think. He told us yesterday at the interview he was nervous out of his mind with anxiety about this prospect.
Yeah, but what's interesting is Ehlers, and I spent a lot of time with Brent Ehlers, he says he's nervous out of his mind in an extremely calm way. Am I wrong?
Yeah, clinical. Yeah.
Right.
Hey, Robbie, if you can.
No, he is that way. And I remember since he came up, he's one of those West Coast guys. I mean, Gabe Bolivar and Brent Ehlers, they were a couple of running buddies, but he's one of those dudes that you just know he was a good stick. You knew he was going to make it. He's got a good temperament, and yeah, you're right. He does get a little nervous and he does get a little jacked up, but I'm just curious about that spot. He told me after the catch yesterday, he said, I've got one spot where those big ones are that I laid off of and I kind of saved. So I'm hoping for his sake that big spot turns on because, if you don't hit it those other days, it's the what if. But he thinks there's one particular area. Has it been as crowded? You're able to see the map. Is it as crowded in that area as it has been those, especially that second day?
Cannot tell that right now. We'll try to get that from the Suge. Hey, if you can, Robbie, walk us through give us kind of a breakdown, at least of the anglers that you've been on so far this morning as far as spectator boat traffic.
It's been good. I mean, it's remarkably light compared to what it has been in the past few years. And I did a little piece for the TV show a moment ago. Kevin, no matter where he's at in the field, always has quite a few people. And he just had, 15, 20, I think. Chris said, probably 15, 20 people on. But that's Kevin Van Dam. Mike, probably about the same thing in that 10 to 12 range. Edwin, 20 plus. Lefebvre, right around 15, 20. There's not a massive group around one guy. They're pretty spread out, and this not being a big lake, that's a good thing. But also, with everybody not being in really tight pockets, except for, Brent Ehlers and that area up there where things get a little skinnier, that's a good thing because they've been very friendly. I mean, the Texas fans that are watching have been out of ways considerably better than they have been the past 2, 3, 4 years.
Robbie, thank you so much. Robbie Floyd, he kind of sees all, knows all, and tells all, and essential to us out there today, expanding our coverage. This is a Bassmaster Live coverage of the Geico Bassmaster Classic. Final day of the Classic out there, and, man, lots of stuff happening there. Lots of stuff popping. We're going to take a little break here in just a minute, come back with our last 30 minutes of our morning session. But first,
can we go sea pecking?
I know you like to do that. That we know about. We've learned that about you this week. Our Geico Bassmaster Classic Trivia, special from Dick Sea Peck Tires and Wheels. Which two players have a higher vote percentage for induction into the Baseball Hall of Fame than Nolan Riley? What a question that is. Now, would it be Ken Griffey Jr., Cal Ripken Jr., Ty Cobb?
I think I know.
Or Tom Saver, or even Tom Seaver?
Yeah,
there's a Tom Saver.
What? It's old man Saver's kid.
Where'd that ego? Chew on that one a little bit. Houston sports fans, baseball fans alike. We'll come back and roll that answer out for you. Meanwhile, we got a lot more yet to come. This is a special day, the latest it's ever been, this Classic, since we started doing it near the start of the season rather than the end of the year. And it's a little bit different Classic in a good way. Back with more in just a few minutes.
The ultimate predator has evolved again. Now, Yamaha B.A.S.S SHO Performance is prowling the waters in 4 hungry, exciting new models. With their 4 valves per cylinder and double overhead cam fuel-injected design, these advanced 4-stroke predators are taking performance to a whole new level. Vicious, lean, efficient. B.A.S.S SHO. The pack is growing.
I spent the first year on the Bassmaster Elite Series mostly living out of my Tundra. My second year on tour, I won at Bull Shoals. My third year on tour, I won at the St. Lawrence River.
Brandon Polinick takes the title.
Idaho is about as far away from bass fishing as you can get. I definitely want to be one of the best guys from the West. All the big names are known from California. I want to be the big name known from Idaho.
Toyota, let's go places.
Let us make this absolutely clear. The days of wasted casts and missed opportunities are over. New Mega Imaging takes fishing into the megahertz range for the first time, because higher frequency sonar means higher frequency of this. Without a doubt, it's the most detailed picture of the world below ever. And it's only from Humminbird.
That's awesome.
That's so cool.
It's a game changer.
This thing steers just as easy in the thick stuff as it does out there in the open water.
It's much quieter. It's more responsive. Hit one button, and you're locked down. It's holding us right in place. It's anchoring us right here.
That new spot lock is dead on.
You know, the only fighting you have to worry about is fighting the fish now.
That's amazing. Absolutely amazing.
The 2017 Bassmaster Classic presented by Dick's Sporting Goods is being brought to you live by Toyota.
There's that special piece of iron and wood and God knows what else. That
was
makes
awesome.
That heavy. That thing is heavy.
Gold.
Watch these guys struggle to lift it. That is the trophy for being the world champion bass angler, and that will be awarded to someone on this day based on what they're able to accomplish in the next 6 hours on Lake Conroe. 6 hours of fishing left, and get back to our Dick CPEC Tires and Wheels Geico Bassmaster Classic trivia. This is a hard one. I'm not much of an HOF expert, and I can't answer this. Which 2 players have a higher vote percentage for induction into the Baseball Hall of Fame than Nolan Ryan, the iconic Nolan Ryan? Ken Griffey, Cal Ripken, Ty Cobb, or Tom Saver?
I don't know this Tom Saver fella, so I'm going to eliminate him. Ty Cobb, he kind of had a rough reputation. I'm going to go A and B.
Okay, you're going to factor your bet?
Yes.
You're going to send it 2 ways? Okay, so you just get paid half. You know that, right?
No, it's 2.
It's 2. Tom.
A and B.
Which 2 players
Which
have
2
a
players?
higher?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Tom.
See, I told
Are you going CPECing or not, bud?
I guess not. I guess I have already gone
Seriously, is it me or is it...
Sorry, I have failed. I have failed the community.
I'm going A and B also.
I failed the trivia community, but we'll get the correct
A
answer.
and what?
Right
A and
now.
what?
We'll deliver that. Our answer is.
Wait,
that?
that is not... Listen.
How could somebody we've never heard of be ahead
well, suddenly,
of Cal Ripken Jr.?
now we got the correct spelling on there. Look, if we're going to go CPEC and Such, I think we all need to become one here. Okay?
Let's do it.
Let's become one. It's the final day of the Classic. Tighten up.
Tom Saver.
I don't know what's happening right now.
Well, I tell you, we've tightened this thing up early on in this final day of the Classic. Mike Iaconelli and that largemouth bass right there. We got to have the sound. Let's listen.
I just made up my difference. That's a 10-pounder, bro. Oh my God. That's a 10-pounder. $10-pounder! 10-pounder! God, Lord, thank you. I can win this. That's 10 pounds. I just made up the difference. Mark Zona, this one's for you.
Wow.
Okay, Mark Zona. Mark Zona.
Yes, sir.
Since he brought up your name, I remember a few days ago.
There's a rumor. This is a rumor.
What?
Tommy, I think you were with us. We were talking about Mike Iaconelli and his career and all the great things he's done. And one of the favorites coming here to Lake Conroe, Mark Zona said.
No, we had heard this from somebody.
That he had heard, I was going to say.
Okay. One of our coworkers said this. I'm not going to throw a name out.
And go ahead and tell us what one of your coworkers.
If Iaconelli wins this tournament, that he was going to retire. Done.
What?
That is what was said to me. You were sitting there by one of our coworkers.
Yeah, but what are the odds that we might be about to find out if our coworker knew what he was talking about?
Man, oh, okay. I'm thinking, okay.
He didn't scream like he had
I'm ready to
retirement
guess
on
that
his mind.
trivia. Well, I won't guess it out loud.
I'm gonna go on a limb. I do not know this is fact. I'm gonna go on a limb. If he wins this tournament, he retires on stage and goes into another career. I'm dead serious. Well, Tommy, you're over there having a time,
I'm
aren't
having
you?
a time.
Tommy has been around you so much, it's a hard time believing
Yeah, that's right.
outlandish stuff you say.
Up is down and down.
But
is
he
up.
is serious.
When I had heard that,
serious.
Really?
Yes, when I had heard that from somebody we work with, when I had heard that, I said, "Oh, come on!" And then I thought about it. I could see it. I could see it.
The ripples are already starting to reverberate through the entire bass fishing community right now.
That
catch, based on that one catch.
Davey was sitting right there, and we both looked at each other. If he won, he was going to retire here.
Okay.
Now, Such, I don't know if this is CPEC and trivia. I don't know if this is official or unofficial, but I believe it's Kelly Ayler, Brent Ayler, leader coming in today. I believe it's her birthday.
That's the word on the street.
I'd like to check up on that, make sure that's official. Happy birthday, Kelly.
So, Kelly, if Kelly's listening, one of the most embarrassing moments of my life is when I danced on my birthday when I won a tournament.
Well, by the way, did you, 2 days of the weigh-in I've seen you this week, there's been some other embarrassing moments of your life.
You're right. Yesterday was probably worse. But here's a shout-out to Kelly. If Brent wins today, she has got to dance on stage. And Brent along with her. They can do the Texas, Texas two-step.
I have hung out with the Aylers. I don't think there'd be any trouble talking them into it.
The Texas two-step, you think they know that?
I don't think they know how to do it.
It's Texas. If he wins the Classic, what are they going to do? The running man?
One thing about Iaconelli, if he does win this Classic, him or Evers, they will join some elite company as multi-Classic winners. 2 or 3 other guys who have 2 Classic wins are George Cochran, Bobby Murray, Hank Parker, and then obviously we know Rick Clunn and KVD have 4 apiece. So one of those 2 guys could join the multiple Classic winners list.
You know what? When you talk about embarrassment this week, number one, you were wearing a wig at the weigh-in yesterday, and on day number 1, now let me set this up. Davey, you are a tremendous athlete, or so I thought. Let's kind of dial in your first pitch. I want you to commentate your own pitch right here. Chewing the gum, feeling it, confident in yourself. I'll let it lay right there.
Words can't describe what you can just watch and see.
Make some noise for him, ladies and gentlemen.
What's going on in my mind right now? High heat.
Just a bit out.
It was far left heat.
And that, ladies and gentlemen, is why Davey Height is one of the greatest bass anglers of all time.
The brushback ball is a part of anybody's repertory who really, wants to win on the mound.
And just so you know, throughout the year of Bassmaster Live, when I am in studio, do not think that we will not replay that at any slow moment.
Let's be quiet and watch Brent Ayler.
It's going to be the 10-pounder, the 10-pounder all day long.
Just a heads up, guys. Steve Kennedy just filled his first limit of the day, jumped into second place with 16 pounds.
Wow.
Less than a pound behind Ayler unofficially.
And he's the only guy up near Ayler today. But he said he was going to give him plenty of room, not getting on his best spot.
I don't know if you talked to him, but yesterday he said he caught most, if not all, of his fish on a jig, both swimming it for the shad spawn and flipping it at isolated targets.
Looking at Bradley Roy hooked up right here, back on his offshore deal. Boy, he has been multi-species today.
Is that another, that's a striper or another catfish?
Hybrid.
Hybrid. Oh, I can see better down there.
Right size, wrong kind.
Oh, we're going to do some a lay of the lake, Humminbird lay of the lake. Lay it out, because Conroe is an exceptional place and a lot of diversity out there.
Exactly.
A lot of things to offer the angler.
And really, here's what's interesting about this lake coming into it. These guys have caught them from the dam as far up the lake as you can go. But the one thing that we're even seeing transpire into today, it has bounced around on consistency on those patterns.
More so than any place I've ever seen. Like you mentioned, from one end of this lake to the other, and guys that you think, now he's really got it dialed in, the next day can't get a bite.
Exactly right. You look at guys like James Elam right there, kind of blind sight fishing, Van Dam fishing the face of the dam. A lot of big ones in that area, but really what I find amazing right now, taking a look at Iconelli with his flotilla right there, is these guys, at least Van Dam and Edwin Evers, crushed them days 1 and 2 on that shad spawn. We saw one bass caught today on that.
It's the way our anglers lay out that montage of pictures we saw there. Looked like a review of great bass fishing spots across the country, and it's all one same.
Exactly.
It's the same place. I mean, you take pictures of bull shoals, every shot looks exactly the same. This is so different from something like that.
I've seen so many different baits, and people spread out. Guys that have been catching them all week, spread out the entire lake. Every one of them throwing different baits.
And really, you look at Ayler right now, 3 fish for 6 pounds. James Elam fishing just above the bridge, all the way up to, see, Brent Ayler and Steve Kennedy. I guess you could say, by looking at the standings, Captain Obvious right now, the pattern that the local anglers said coming into this tournament that would not hold up, fishing shallow up the lake, has ended up being, at least up till now, the most consistent.
You know, I fished with Keith Combs to official practice day. That's one thing he said. Can't hold up. Can't be one up there. I hope we get to talk to him today, because I'd ask him that and a few more things. You know, this lake's so good.
One of the things that Hackney said was Hackney was on this bite. He was literally right around the corner from Brent Ayler, and he said, man, I don't want to get trapped into doing that. I said, what do you mean? He said, well, I got quality bites. I caught, I think you got to weed through a lot of, 16, 17-inch fish to get to those 4-pounders, but I don't think it could be one up there. Lo and behold, Brent Ayler, Steve Kennedy right now, 1 and 2. But you could tell, we talked about this yesterday, that Hackney was one of those anglers that found that, but he really was trying to talk himself out of it in pre-practice, where he thought the reputation, the history of this place was going to be down near the dam.
But isn't it really Brent Ayler's M.O.? He doesn't listen to that doc talk so much. He hears it, but he goes in and thinks, I'm going to dissect this thing. I'm going to find out exactly which stick, exactly which bait, and maybe pitch a bait that these fish haven't seen. I'm going to be so precise and fine-tuned that the pressure is not going to keep me from catching them.
Yeah, but I will tell you, if we were talking about this on Wednesday and somebody would have said that Ayler's going to be leading on the last day at, 9 o'clock in the morning, 10 o'clock in the morning, I would have told you he's fishing offshore, he's cranking, he's throwing a jig and a worm. Sure. That's what I'd have said.
Sure. It has been a weekend of surprises for sure.
James Elam talking to us about his approach yesterday, basically just sort of a default thing. He just couldn't think of anything else. He referred to it like it was sort of a nonsense deal.
Well, this morning, he started kind of in the mid-lake area and was fishing off a few seawalls and stuff like that. But what you see him doing right here has been his primary deal all week long, throwing a Yamamoto Senko. And he said, look, I'm fishing spawners. I said, you looking at him? He said, no. He said, no, I'm not looking at them, but I know they're there for the simple fact what they are little shelves. He's holding his boat in about 2 feet of water, throwing on little 1-foot flats. But he said when he misses one, he can generally get that. But he said the problem has been, obviously, I'm just not catching a lot.
The way he described what he'd been doing all week, he started doing a little something differently this morning. Looking at the bank and a different bait. Nelly talked to us yesterday, and he said, I'm going to start down by the dam where he's been starting. And I thought he was going to run to a spot that's in that corner where the tires are.
Right.
But he made a little change and went to the other side of the dam.
Where we had not seen him.
Had not seen him, and obviously was a very, very good decision.
So we're live right now?
Yeah, there's 4 of us in a quad box on the screen.
Cool.
Go right ahead, give us a little update while we're traveling. Anytime.
Yeah, it's a slow morning. I'm not going to spin out today, though. I'm fishing. I'm happy to be here. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. That's just all there is to it. I'm going to keep doing what I'm doing, and every day is different. So maybe today it's a midday deal. We'll find out.
Sitting on the one fish, a small one, 2-pounder. This was it. Pretty early on, as you can see from the angle of the sun right there, and that's been it for Dave Lefebvre.
Davey, go ahead on that.
I am not worried about it. It is what it is. My normal tournament self would be bothered by the other guys in the top 25 fishing in here today, but it is what it is.
If you're just joining us on Bassmaster Live this morning, you look at Lefebvre right there and you say, well, heck, he's just going along the seawall, see a couple boat docks, and he's just kind of going along doing his deal. That is not the case, Davey.
It's not, and that's why I picked him. When he really explained to us last night for the first time what he was doing and the reason he was doing it, that sort of thing, I said, guy's going to be hard to beat. I just want to say I apologize to the 3 guys. I've changed my pick all 3 days. And I apologize to them personally because it has absolutely wrecked them. They have. I didn't tell them I picked you, but I mean.
Somehow they knew.
Somehow the Bass knew. Just.
Here's what we've seen in this tournament. If you're consistent, don't worry. This lake will catch
tomorrow.
you. Yeah. This lake's going to catch you.
All it means if you've been consistent is it just hasn't happened to you yet.
Exactly.
We were finally down to only 2 that were consistent out of 52-man field. There were 2 that
Evers
were
and
confident,
Lefebvre.
very confident, consistent, had got off of their fish the first 2 days, had done everything right, and now they are scratching their heads.
And
saying,
they got caught by Conroe.
Yep.
Something else I want you to there's a great photo gallery. I believe it was from Overstreet on the anglers that guessed the weights in this tournament. I believe Hackney was the highest one, right around 77 pounds.
Kennedy was 78.
Kennedy was 78. One of the anglers with the lowest guesses was Van Dam. Said it'll never hit 60 pounds. It'll be around it, but I don't think it'll hit it. And oh, come on. I said everybody was 65 to 70. He said he'll never take that. And he was concrete on it.
Totally consistent with it, too. With everything else he said, back that up.
Yeah, he really hit the nail on the head on several things. Saying it was going to be the toughest tournament. I'm like, what are you talking about? Everybody says they're going to catch 8 to 10 pounders, which they have. But he said it's just going to be tough. They're going to have to change every day. They're not going to catch him every day. He's been exactly right on all those predictions. He's fished here a good bit, though. He's fished here a lot.
Right. I'm standing behind it. Something weird by the end of the day is going to happen to win this thing.
It's intriguing.
Like I catching a 10-pounder, it and weird enough is not late enough for something else to happen.
This tournament has been goofy enough. Something else is coming.
Yep, I agree. But I distinctly asked him yesterday because I knew somebody like him or Kevin would probably need to catch a 9 or 10-pounder down there in 6th and 7th place.
Yeah.
I said, have you caught, because he said, I've caught some big ones. That's why I'm going to start back down by the dam again. I said, have you caught some really like 10-pounders? He said, no, but 6 and 7s.
Yeah. And he said, there's lots of them.
Yeah. But to catch that fish, the fish that he needed to put him right back in this thing, almost.
Now that makes me want to go home and sit on a bucket.
Yeah.
A white crappie. Yummy.
All right, let's take a look at our quad box here. Tommy Sanders, Bassmaster Live. Bradley Roy out throwing a Carolina rig. You got Brent Ayler flipping a weightless D-shad. Dave Lefebvre throwing a jig on a seawall, and Van Dam throwing a jerkbait. Boy, I'm going to tell you. You know what that is?
Dialed in.
Dialed in right there.
Yeah.
And the other side is we came in here this morning, told everybody that was watching this, you better look out for the first hour. The fish catches, fireworks.
Off
fireworks
the chain.
Off the chain. Chain mail. Get ready.
Get ready.
Hold
Hold still.
Davey. Davey, just help me somewhere in here.
It's just when you think you know a little bit about this place, it just blows me away how inconsistent it's been with big stringers.
Everyone in this field, Lake Conroe was just at one point taking them off to the side and roughed them up.
But you know that's why it's so impressive for Brent Ayler to be still leading this thing.
No kidding.
Because it's been crazy, and he's been 15 to 20 pounds behind both mornings.
And here's the
at
weird
least
thing.
15.
You talk about Keith Combs. One of my picks coming in here, I told you Tommy Sanders, Jason Christie.
Yeah.
I said, to me, this tournament sets up for a Jason Christie so well. He just walked by me in the expo.
Yeah, there we go.
You're cold.
Seriously, which shows how completely undialed we've been this week. We have some sweet, powerful guests coming up later today, too.
Oh, have we? You're gonna
absolutely.
When are those names going to drop? Are you going to lay it on us? A lot to look forward to in this ad. We're going to take a break, of course, coming up here. A few minutes. We'll be gone for an hour and a half and back with full-blown Bassmaster Live at the Geico Bassmaster Classic for 3 more hours. Getting you close to weigh-in time, close to wind-em-up time on Lake Conroe. They'll load them up, head down 45. It's a Minute Maid Park. Great weigh-in on the way. Great stuff we've seen today is this right here, undeniably. Our Power Pole replay of the day. Michael Iaconelli.
Oh my God, it's a 10-pounder. This is a game changer.
That right there happened at 8:15 this morning, and I'm going to say right now, that is the Power Pole replay of the day, of the week, of the month.
With you on that.
I'll bet you a crankbait, Mark Zona, that there's another Maybe not quite that big, but another really big fish caught.
I'm totally with you. And I believe that is, as of right now, the biggest Bassmaster live fish we have ever got on camera.
That's right. That tops out that Timmy Horton fish from down at Okeechobee, which was probably the previous leader.
Wow.
That is just eye-popping. Brett Ayler, Edwin Evers, all of these guys making their bid. Might it be a newcomer or a newcomer? Either one. Bassmaster Live, we're going to bring it back to you today about 12:30 p.m. Eastern Time. Take you all the way to 3:30 p.m. All the action from a wild and woolly day on Lake Conroe. Finishing up with the World Championship.